life professionals to families across Africa, when many of the health issues people have are family crisis induced. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development is the premier institution for grooming the most effective family life professionals across the continent of Africa. In 4 years, we have trained 1,200 family life professionals who now practice across Africa, North America, and the United Kingdom. Our certification programs enables you accurately diagnose complex family life cases within 15 minutes using data-driven templates and create interventions that combine coaching plus therapy and strategy to assist your clients. For the best certification programs on family life, parenting, and effective children church system, kindly contact us at ekabo@ifedacademy.com or call 0706 809 9845. The Institute of Family Engineering and Development, grooming the most effective family life professionals humanity deserves.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Good afternoon. My name is Adiola, and I'd like to welcome all of you today. I've got today with me a phenomenal host whose name is Akinrako, and I hope that, we all have a wonderful time today. Wherever you are today, joining us from the world, can you please chat where you're joining us from, what your name is, what your intentions are today, what you want to be, do, have at the end of this conference. Thank you very, very, very much for joining us. Thank you today. Can we play some music in the background for maybe like 5 minutes? Whilst unfortunately, I can't see the chats right now, but I'm sure that people have started to send messages in.
No matter where you come from, we go there like one tribe.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, we're very honored to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us. Happy day. Yes, Ayo Lawrence from Lagos, from Lekki. Akinroko from Lekki has joined us today. Thank you. Carol from Port Harcourt. Thank you. Dorothy Stephen from Bauchi Estate. Thank you for joining us today. Dima. I'm really excited to be here. For me, I want to ask for one thing or maybe four things. And the word I'm going to use, Nedum, thank you for joining us from Festac, Okoyemi from Texas. Yes. Ada White from Oka. Yes, Becky from Otta, Gania from Maryland, Okoyemi from Lagos, Timilola from Ikorodu. Thank you for joining us. Florence from Lagos, thank you for joining us. Yes. Pastor Tinuke from Ikoyi and Josie from Port Harcourt. Yes. Keep the names coming and where you're calling in from or joining in from today. Whilst you're doing that, I'm going to just keep talking, and then I'm going to invite my co-host to join us today. And I want to ask for a favor. I want you to fast whilst we're doing this program. Not fast because I don't want you to eat, but fast, F stands for forget. Forget everything that you have known and come here with an open mind, because we're going to be sharing a lot of information that you need. So listen for insights and not for agreements. Insights because your mind is open to learning. Not agreements because once you don't agree with something, you log off, and we don't want you to log off today. So listen for insights and for what will serve you today and use them. A stands for active. We want you to be active. Thank you, Karima from Lagos State. We want you to be active today on this call because, we want you to send in message. So when we say type in chat, type in chat. Be active, be involved, write in your notebooks, be present. Tell people that you're going to be a part of the conference for 3 hours and you want to be present and silent and you want to be able to do the things that you need to do so that you can achieve what you've come here to achieve today. S for state. Now, I want you to be really excited, sitting up, chest up high, with a smile on your face. When we play music, please dance, because it changes your state immediately and it makes you present, and the energy will then flow through your system. And T stands for teach. Don't just keep the information that we're going to be sharing with you today. Please share it with other people, and once you teach, once you learn something and you teach it, you have learned it twice. So I say that, please, today we want you to fast. So forget, active, state, and teach. And I hope that you guys do that today. Thank you, Shola Jai from Lagos. So when we say ask questions, ask questions. When we say raise up your hands, raise up your hands. Just join us and humor us today, because we're here to have a wonderful time and to change the state of the family as we see it right now, and make sure that people, yes, thank you, fast today. Thank you, Dima. We're fasting today, she says, so I'm very excited about that. But eat, not the fasting of not eating. Don't forget, be active, be present, make sure that your state is really nice and energetic, and teach people as you learn from us. So Mr. Akinrokwo, would like to hear from you as you introduce our next line of agenda. Thank you very much. And welcome everybody. Please keep the names coming, keep where you're sending messages from, and tell us one intention, one thing you want to achieve today. Thank you for joining us. And once again, my name is Adiola. Mr. Rockwell, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Adiola Trilonia. So if you permit me to stick to that Trilonia, please, I would do that.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. So we want to especially welcome everybody on board this special meeting today. It is something that I have been longing for, and I'm glad that I'm here today. It's a great day that the Lord has chosen for everybody. And just like Trilonia had already said, we have it like something like simple golden rule on what is expected of everybody, that everything that we ask to do, we do it. It is just for one reason, just for everybody to learn. We just want to be like babies again. That is one of the hallmarks of family system engineering course. We have to be like babies again, so that our heart, our mind are open, so that we can just grab the wisdom behind what we're doing today. So it is the pathway to global peace in the midst of global chaos and disruption. There is no better time, no better day, no better moment, no better year to have this conversation than now. We all know what is happening in our society, in our environment, almost every other day. Just 2-3 years ago, the whole world was disrupted by COVID-19. Nobody foresaw it, and everybody, the plan, everything, what we had went into chaos. So we had to re-strategize again. But here now, one of those things that we do in family system engineering is to create scenarios away from what we had planned. And that is what we are going to do here today. Can we forecast about what is going to happen in education, in family, in marriage, in the next 20, in the next 30 years, about our children? Yes, we can forecast. Can we provide solution? Yes, we can. So I want everybody to sit back, get set, and be open to receive knowledge, wisdom, and insights from our speaker. So the next we have on the agenda is to go straight to our anthem. So please, can we have the national anthem played?
Compatriot, Nigeria's don't obey to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Oh God of creation, direct our noble course, and guide our leaders right, and warriors the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and live in just and truth. When love the heights obtained to be a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Shall reign.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We're asking where for peace and justice to reign. And so I'm going to call on our chairman for the day and my wonderful friend and sister called Dima Nwobi. She's fondly called the Queen of Happiness because she's like a spring from whence flows authenticity to others to be themselves and enjoy happier, fulfilling lives. She's the creator of the architecture of intentional happiness, a framework for building and enjoying happier lives and relationships, leveraging evidence-based tools and methodologies from positive psychology, emotional intelligence, and family systems engineering, helping thousands of individuals, couples, parents, and managers to move forwards towards happier and more satisfying lives. She enjoys rocking her authenticity and helping others enjoy happier, fulfilling lives through happiness coaching, mentoring, consulting, training, and speaking. She's married with a partner in bliss, she calls him, Nedum, and together they're raising 4 amazing kids, living their family legacy and rocking their happiness together. Please, let's put our hands together and welcome Dima. Dima, welcome, and we can't wait to hear from you.
Thank you, Adiola, for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here from Lagos, Nigeria, so it's afternoon. And for wherever around the globe that you're joining us, you are welcome to this year's edition of the African Family Life Delegate Conference. Some time ago, at the Institute of Family Engineering and Development, where I am honored to serve as the Director of Studies, we looked across Africa to say what is happening. Is there anybody, any institution teaching family life science across Africa? And then how can we begin to come together as people who are interested in charting a new course for Africa using the family as the bedrock and as the production center? And sadly, we did not find any organization that was purely teaching African family life science. And even although that the United Nations has earmarked the 15th of May every year as the International Day of Families, we also did not see any constructive or progressive work being done across Africa to commemorate that day and to have real conversations like you and I are going to have today. And so based on that, we created the African Family Life Delegate Conference, where we can come together not only as Nigerians, but across Africa to talk about topical issues that affect you and I, our families, and our society. Because we believe that the family is the production center of the society, and so everything stems from that family. So welcome this year to African Family Life Delegate Conference. And I want to also recognize the efforts of the resilient members of the network of family systems engineering practitioners who are also co-hosting this event with us. This year's topic is a conversation we should all be having. I mean, just yesterday, I was about to book a flight for my husband to travel from Lagos to Enugu in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And as we were about to conclude that booking, someone sent us a message, hey, there is no movement all across the southern eastern part of Nigeria for all the week. And we're like, what's happening? So that is the time that we are in right now. With the war happening in Ukraine, with the religion-based killings that we're seeing happening across different parts of Nigeria, and the post-COVID normal that is ridden with uncertainties and tension. Not even to mention the many cases of domestic violence, tribal feuds, and the rising case of personal internal disharmony that we face as human beings. Now is the time for a conversation like this. I was reading somewhere a material that was talking about the increasing disharmony we feel as human beings, and even the disruptions and disputes that we are beginning to find in our homes, in our communities increasing, and linking it to all of this news and trends. To say that as people, we have subtly become conditioned to war. We've subtly become conditioned to disharmony. We've subtly become conditioned because everywhere you turn the radio, you go to social media, you're having a conversation with someone, it is war, 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 war. And so this is a time for us to come together to seek a collective and progressive approach to peace. There is no peace without family peace, because the family is where progressive conflict resolution is learned. And this year, we're looking at the family as the pathway to global peace in the midst of chaos and disruptions. Family is where the human first experiences how to live peaceably with people with different personalities, people with different perceptions about life. About a week ago, our 16-year-old daughter, called a family meeting. And as we sat together, we mediated a disagreement between her and her brother. And there in the family meeting, coincidentally, we had the grandparents, her grandfather from her father's side was in attendance. My mother, her grandmother from her maternal side were in attendance. And that was just a miniature picture of how families can raise people to have differences, but yet to coexist in harmony and in peace. So what can we do to unite the North and the South? What strategies beyond mere talk can we come to today that can help us live together as humans created by God, in spite of our religion, in spite of our tribe, in spite of our creed, and in spite of our social status? Everyone who promotes peace comes from a family. And even that man who is creating chaos, that man who is disrupting law and order, and that man who is not allowing people to coexist is also a product of the family. So today, I believe that we have amazing guest speakers, panelists, and we're just here with the sole purpose of doing justice to this one topic. How can we create a roadmap that can give us global peace, starting first from ourselves? With the seasoned professionals who will be leading conversations on how families can promote personal and global peace, I am hopeful that we'll be able to leave today's conference with simple systems and strategies that we can quickly begin to adapt in our homes, that we can take to our communities. And I am optimistic that what we are doing together today, the systems and strategies that will come out of this conference today, we can begin to infuse it into government to see policies that will impact the different spheres of influence in our society and across Africa to promote peace in our society. I want you to relax. We have brought great minds and thought leaders from across politics, from religion, from media, from arts and entertainment, and of course from the foundation of all of this, the Family Life Unit, to look at this monster that is threatening our peaceful coexistence, and not only to talk about them, because I pride myself to be a member of the institute that is organizing this conference, and I know that when we come together, we're looking at transformative solutions. We don't just want it to be mere talk, because you come to social media, everyone is saying something, but we're not seeing a roadmap, any document or something that we can quickly begin to implement. And that's what we are hoping to do here today, to come up with a flow chart, come up with strategies that we can use to profess solutions that will be beneficial to us all. I invite you to sit back, but before we continue, I want to ask you a question. We're talking about family as the pathway to peace globally, in spite of the chaos and disruptions. And I know that a good number of us here are either parents, caregivers, educators. We may not have a large population of children here, but I ask you to ask yourself, if this same topic was being treated in your home, if your children were gathered as we are gathered together with you, and we ask them one question, just to rate on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 being the least existent, where 0 being the least existent, and 10 being absolutely in place, what would your children and members of your family say about strategies that you have in place at home to promote peace and coexistence? If somebody from your home was asked to rate the level of disharmony in your home on that same scale of 0 to 10, what will members of your family rate it? Are we going to see children, fathers, mothers, caregivers, house helps, domestic staff rate the level of peace in your home ranging from 7 to 10? Or will they truthfully and authentically rate the peace in your home ranging from 0 to 5? If we were to take that question home, what will be the answer? And if you can answer that for yourself, wherever you fall between 0 to 10, I invite you to sit back, listen to the rich and robust conversation we will have here, and please let it not just be yet another conference that you attend. I'm hoping, and all of us in the Institute are hoping, that you will take tips away from today that you begin to implement in your home, because we know there is no peaceful society without a peaceful home. And if each of our families can, because of this conference, move from the peace in our homes 1, 2, 3 steps higher, I'm convinced that the peace we will experience in Nigeria, in Africa, and globally as a people will increase, just because someone today will take that decision to go back home and implement the strategies we'll share. Once again, happy International Day of Families. Welcome to this year's African Family Life Delegate Conference. I declare, yes, we've declared the conference open, and I say sit back, let's have a robust conversation and go back and change our homes one person at a time, one family at a time, and collectively as a people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dilma. You are the most suited for this role. And so I'm really excited that you did this and you said this. And I'm sure that you have given us something to think about, because as you were saying it and you're asking people to rate themselves, I was rating myself and I was writing it down in my notebooks saying, really, what will my children say, or what will my staff say, or what would people say around me about peace? Because if I don't have peace in my heart, I can't have peace in my home. And if I don't have peace in my home, then the society cannot be peaceful. So thank you so much for that welcome speech. Akinrako, do you want to take it from here and introduce our phenomenal keynote speaker for today?
Okay, let me quickly do that. So if you just joined us, this is still the conference to commemorate International Day of Family with the theme, Pathway to Global Peace in the Midst of Global Chaos and Disruption. So if you just joined, you haven't still missed anything at all. We are just starting, so still sit back. So on this note, I introduced our keynote speaker in the person of our visionary. It doesn't like to be called pastor. So let's stick to PF, Mr. Praise Uwowe. So if I have to read his bio, his profile at all, I won't be able to say it. So over to you, sir. PF.
Assist families build system. Praise Uwowe is an unconventional thinker, futurist, premier creator, and trainer of family system engineering, a body of knowledge that assists families build systems that support their happiness and assist family life coaches across the globe improve their diagnostic tools and intervention management. Regarded as the father of family system engineering, Praise Uwowe has pioneered an entire sector and trained some of the finest family life coaches across the continent of Africa. An internationally acclaimed family life strategist with a 18-year track record of transforming some of the most difficult families, Praise Uwowe works with high net worth individuals across various cultures on 5 continents and consult for various governments on the family system engineering approach to building a sustainable society. Praise is one of the best go-to persons with effective interventions on family life certifications, sexual abuse prevention and response systems, strategic junior church systems, and out-of-the-box parenting programs. He is a member of the Family Life Coaching Association USA and International Association of Marriage and Family Counselors. He loves to troubleshoot systems and create faster solutions to people and family life relationship issues. He is happily married to Tilson, and they are blessed with David and Cherry.
Okay, thank you very much, media, for that introduction. I want to say thank you, everyone, for this year's conference, and thank you for joining us. I want to appreciate the Honorable Commissioner for joining us as well as all the panelists and everyone present here. My name is Praise Fuwe. I am presently an expatriate working in Dallas. All right, and that's how I introduce myself. I have been given the task to give the keynote at this conference. If you know me very well, every conference, I never say anything except the welcome, because I love to sit back and learn. But the committee have saddled me with a huge responsibility of taking the keynote for this particular conference. Now, I will share my slides and I will make it very simple, so that we can have workable solutions and practicable solutions that we can use even from now. Now, I was born into a family of 7. Later, we became 8. And my earliest experience of chaos happened within the family. I mean, 6 siblings who were older than me. I was, 5 of them older than me, sorry. I was the 6th, then I have a younger brother. Then later, I had another sister. Now, I saw my dad and mom exchange words. They never fought themselves, but every time they were in a heated argument, I will notice that once there was a knock on our door, they came together to welcome the guest, and you would never know that anything was happening. Then once the guest left, they continued their argument. Now, I saw my siblings argue about so many issues because some of them just have a year difference between them. And we all belong to the same father. None of us was less than a child within the house. Now, we had different relationships with our dad, but he loved everyone equally, and same way our mom. But you see, as we grew older, even now in the family WhatsApp chat, we still have a lot of friction. We still have some fights in here and there, but the bond of family is never broken. Every time I look at the world, I wonder what exactly is happening. I wonder if we all know that regardless of our religion or race, we are all from the same source and we're all human beings. On that note, I am going to be sharing on the word of title, the theme of the conference, Family, a pathway to global peace in the midst of global chaos and disruption. We all can see what happened in Nigeria 2 days ago and what everyone is talking about. And I'm sure it bothers us. But you see, every time I see people kill or people maim other people or fight, the first question I ask is, who raised these people? Now, I want you to look at this image. I'm sure you know him. Now, that was Adolf Hitler, when he was leading the nation called Germany. His father was regarded as an illegitimate child, as the baptismal certificate excluded his name. In fact, they said about his father that his father was a product of a Jewish boy who lived with his parents, where his mother worked as a housekeeper who slept with her and impregnated her, and that was why his father was regarded as an illegitimate child. So you could see trauma in the life of Adolf Hitler's father. Now, Adolf Hitler was the 4th of the 6 kids born from his dad's 3rd wife. So which means, he was from a polygamous home. 3 of his siblings died at infancy. Now you can see trauma in there. You can see chaos already from the family he was born into. At age 8, he started an intense conflict with his dad over his unwillingness to conform to strict discipline at school. Now, his father, will make him read the King James Bible all the time. And they've tried to suppress his strong willpower, right? Because they didn't quite understand him. So he started having running battle. Now, the loss of his brother affected him, that he moved from an extrovert to a bitter introvert, always fighting his dad and his teachers. No therapy was done. No trauma management was done. No support, loving support from the family. Now, this same guy, Adolf Hitler, once sang in church, looked forward to becoming a priest, but his father's insistence on him becoming a custom officer led to an unforgettable conflict till his father died. He never forgave his father because He wanted to be something else. His father wanted him to be something else and imposed his will on him. And to punish his father, he did terribly, at school. Now, this guy left home after his father died. Then his mother died of breast cancer, when he was 18. He teamed up with his friends to start developing the German nationalistic ideas with allegiance only to the German. Now, when his mother died, he became homeless and a peasant laborer, where he became exposed to racist rhetoric and anti-Semitism. Now, no love from home, infighting with himself, no peace within himself. This guy became the tyrant that we all know about. Now, the question you might want to ask is, was he a bad man or a product of a traumatic family system? Because you can only give what you have. If you don't have trauma in you, you can inflict trauma on the rest of the world. But side by side with this guy is another guy, that you all know. This guy, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was also born to a family of priests as the second of 3 children in a closely knit family system. His father would instruct them to read the Bible out loudly, daily, while the grandmother would tell them Bible stories at bedtime. As a matter of fact, the grandmother was called Mama by the grandchildren, and they all loved her because she showed them a lot of love. Now, his father, just like Adolf Hitler's father, will also flog him for truancy. And that toughened him as he almost committed suicide when he thought one of his schemes had led to the death of his grandma. He was going to kill himself, but he later found out that the woman did not die. Now, he experienced racism when his friend's dad told him his white friends should no longer play with him. As a matter of fact, the man outrightly told him, "You are a beast and whites should not mix with you." His dad, he cried home and he went to meet his dad, but his dad took him through the history of slave trade and racism, which made him resolve to hate every white and inflict pain on every white. But guess what his father told him? His dad told him it was a duty as a Christian to love his enemies. You can see the contrasting family values and how he affects people. Now, this same guy, like Adolf Hitler, sang in church. He became a pastor with time, but not until he had questioned several Christian doctrines while witnessing racial segregation. He couldn't understand why the whites would talk about a God and Jesus, and while they would still talk about racism in the same vein. Now, with his foundation in peace and love, he grew into leading the civil rights movement and consistently promoted love in the midst of hatred. As a matter of fact, it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said that hatred cannot take out hatred. He would take love to take out hatred. Now, based on his beliefs and his ideologies, he was assassinated. Now, his birthday is a public holiday in America. The question you want to ask about Martin Luther King Jr., was he a good man or a product of a loving family system? You can see 2 global icons and you can see the role the family life played in their formation and the role modeling played in their formation. Now, all over the world, there seems to be chaos all around the world. When I was born, I heard about World War I. If you study World War I, it was triggered by, a man who went to shoot someone else and his wife, and that was what spiraled to becoming what is known as World War I. But what family raised the person who shot somebody? World War II, of course, the role Adolf Hitler played in there. I mean, Adolf Hitler, we've talked about him. Now, that was also facilitated by a product from a family system. You know about Gulf War that happened in Iraq many years ago. I mean, at the back of that, you had Saddam Hussein, you had the US government. Those people were also from family. Of course, if you are an African, you know about the Libyan war. I mean, Gaddafi, how Americans took him out. Of course, Gaddafi is from a family. We know about Idi Amin in Africa, from a family. Nelson Mandela from a family. In Nigeria, we know about Abacha from a family. Well, now we have a president from a family. The question you want to ask is, what kind of family system produced this one? You heard about the lady that was killed in Sokoto from a family. The people that killed him from a family. Human beings killing people from a family. You want to ask, who dropped the ball? What kind of trauma have those people gone through? And how have they grown to that level where there is no longer compassion and humanity, even in their consciousness? Now, these are questions that I want you to begin to think about. But if you look at it, the global chaos is not limited to war. With our COVID pandemic, 7.9 million deaths already globally from COVID. That was global chaos. 150 million to 1 billion deaths from war since the inception of the world as we know it right now. Think about that for a moment. 1 billion people died from war. That's more than an entire continent. Now that should worry all of us. And if you check every war, it starts from, I don't agree with you, I don't agree with you. So because I feel I'm powerful than you, I'm going to overpower you. Now, the question is, those people having those conversations, how have they tried to resolve issues from their family when they were being formed? 195 million deaths as at 2015 to religious war, according to Reddit.com. 195 million religion killing people. The question is, the people they are killing over, none of them was born when those people were alive. None of us was born when Jesus was alive or Abraham. None of us was born when the Holy Prophet was alive. We only heard about them from the books we read. Yet, people are going to kill themselves. Of course, we know that it may not be a religious war. It may be a religious front with a political cover of a people who think they deserve the right to take over people's lands and what have you. Now, 4,000 women die annually due to domestic violence. Now, this is a global chaos. But you see, there are two critical questions I ask when I see wars, when I see chaos, when I see crises. I am asking, why do we have to do this? Why must I kill for a deity or for a prophet who did not even kill people, who spoke against him? And overworked. Why should I kill someone to steal his land? Why should I bring down someone because I wanted to rise? Why do I need to do that? But you know what? Written all over every global chaos is a failed family system of someone who dropped the ball. Gaddafi, someone dropped the ball. If the guy had experienced love, he won't grow to become who he became. What's his name? Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin. These were people who terrorized our world. I mean, from Chicago, Boko Haram, even the Boko Haram people. The people killed someone in Nigeria, in Sokoto. Who were the people that raised them? Someone dropped the ball. Someone from the family did not do what they ought to do. And that's why you have leaders who don't have compassion, because compassion may not have been shown to them from the family that raised them. Now, at the root of every global chaos and words are superiority complex, powered by superiority beliefs. So if you check every word, you will find a sense of superiority. And it's powered by a belief of superiority. Our religion is greater than your religion. That's where it starts from. Who says that? From the time we were born, there is no religious mark on any of us. Nobody put a religion. Nobody came here as a Christian or as a Muslim. It was something that was imposed on you by the people that raised you, depending on the parenting that you found yourself. If I was born in Saudi Arabia to the king of Saudi Arabia, I would be a Muslim with pride. I would defend it with my life because that was what I was exposed to. But if this same me was born in China, I would be completely different. I may not practice anything. I may not even believe in anything. I would believe that, science is the way. If I was born, somewhere in Israel, I will be a Jew. So we believe, once we believe your religion is greater than someone else, that's where it starts from. Our sect is the only sect. Our denomination is the only denomination. I once had a meeting with the heads of a Christian faith in Nigeria, and I asked them a simple question. If everyone in Nigeria becomes a Christian, will there be peace in Nigeria? The answer was no. I asked why. They said to me that there's no peace in Canaan PFA. Denominational differences is creating a lot of war. So I also met at the mosque with a couple of Muslim leaders, and I asked them, let's assume Nigeria is Islamized and everyone becomes a Muslim. Will there be peace? And they said no. I said, why? They said, because they also have different expression. So our sect is the only sect. Our way is the only way. Every other way is going to hellfire. Says who? None of us has been to heaven or hell. We don't even know what happens over there except what we have read or what we've been exposed to. So how did we become hell accreditation officer to think that if people don't agree with us, they're going to go to hell? Despite the fact that if they throw a bomb at a crowd, The bomb cannot locate a Christian from a Muslim, cannot locate a Muslim from a free thinker. Everyone will die. Everyone is united in death and in life. Then you hear things like, we're powerful enough to cheat and dominate. So that is why people can leave the country and come and colonize another country, destroy their system, destroy their culture, tell them that what they have is inferior, tell them that their gods are inferior, tell them that there is nothing great about them, yet steal the artifact, steal the gods, put it in a museum, make money over it, and hand them over something they will never understand, and they begin to fight themselves and implode over time while you build the best cities somewhere else. Now, men are superior to women. That's at the root of domestic violence. Blacks are inferior to whites. I see that all the time. There was a shooting at Buffalo in the United States of America just yesterday of a guy, a white supremacist guy who went to shoot everyone. I also, got to watch the conversations around the medical doctor who was inseminating unsuspecting women with a semen, a white guy who belonged to a white cult called the Quiverful cult, because they believed that Blacks were giving birth to more children in the US, so they wanted to even that. So every woman with fertility issue inseminated them with a semen, as at the last count, 95 children. But guess what? When he was taken to court, it was only fined $500. Okay, I can do whatever I like since no one can hold me accountable. Don't you see it on social media? Show yourself, be yourself, don't care, don't bother. Nobody can dictate your life. Do whatever you like. Then we can colonize you because we want to. Of course, you are all aware of the chaos between Ukraine and Russia, which is at best sibling rivalry. The life of the rich is superior to the life of the poor. You see that all over Nigeria. The girl has been killed. Politicians have moved on because the next election is more important than the human life. Now, so even primitively in Africa, we have the concept of Obag Besele in the Yoruba culture. What it means is I can be passing around with my wife. The king can look at my wife, and without my consent, the king can put his leg on my wife, and my wife moves in with the king. Now, and all these things happen even before colonization. And that's why I do not like to trade blames, because every time I want to blame the colonialists, we need to look within to say, who were the people who received, mirror? Who were the people who received gunpowder? Who were the people who received cinnamon shinap to sell their brothers? So at the root of every global chaos and wars are superiority complex, powered by superiority beliefs. But guess what? There is something else. At the root of every superiority complex is our beliefs, which drive how we see what we see. Now, I don't want you to think about what do you see. I want you to think about how do you see. There's a picture in front of you, and I'm going to throw it open. How do you see? Or if you have to describe what is in front of you, what exactly is it that you can see in front of you? You can go to the chat box and type how you can see what you see in front of you. Now, I'm sure someone is smiling because they know exactly where I'm going with this. Because if how you see what you see is already compromised, you are going to damage people, whether from your family, how you see your children. If you see your children as royalties, you're going to treat them with compassion. If you see them as they just came out of me, you're going to beat them black and blue, slap them, yell at them, mess them up, impose your trauma on them. Now, so look at this. Now, someone looks at this guy in this image in front of you, and all he sees is a demonic spirit. Now, what is he going to do? He's going to call this guy a demon. He's going to say this masquerade is a demon. This is blah, 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 blah. Is it right or wrong? It could be right. But you know what? It's right, and his truth is not a universal truth. But he will never believe because he sees things from a one-liner perspective. And I'm sharing with you exactly where chaos comes from. But another person looks at this and he sees a culture. Now, the person who sees a culture is going to be at loggerhead with the person who sees a demon. The person who sees a culture will embrace this guy. The demonic person will be casting them out. You are casted out in the name of Jesus. You'll be speaking in tongues and doing gymnastics to cast them out. And that is a war already. Because all he's saying now is right to see a demon, because only people who understand demons can recognize demons. Maybe he goes to demonic meeting and he has taken selfie with demon and he can recognize a demon. That is his truth. That is his reality. But the other guy who says culture is also right because all he sees is culture, his heritage, his religion, is going to defend it. Now, both of them will not know that two people can see the same thing differently and both of them are correct. So demon will be fighting with culture. But there's a third guy who doesn't see demon, who doesn't see culture, who sees a business, and that guy is the son of the man behind the masquerade. He knows that that masquerade is not from heaven. He knows it's his father. He knows the money he collects is what he used to pay school fees. Now, he sees business. The demonic person sees demon. The cultural person sees heritage. So the cultural person is a foot soldier. He actually believes that he's a spirit. So he worships the masquerade. The demonic person wants to cast out the masquerade. The business person wants to make money from the masquerade. Now, that is what already brewing. Both of them, three of them are correct. But there's a fourth guy who sees a costume business. And the fourth guy says, wow, if we can replicate his prayer is God, let there be more masquerade so that I can be the supplier of their costume, because all I see is costume. So the costume guy wants to make more money. The demonic guy wants to eradicate, masquerade. If he eradicates masquerade, he will eradicate culture. If culture is eradicated, the business guy will drop out of school. If that is eradicated, his costume guy will be broke. So another Armageddon is brewing. World War IV is already brewing there. But there's a fifth guy who sees innovation with global business prospect. So he sees the four guys fighting. What does he do? He looks at the guys and says, what is the problem here? Okay, the demonic guy is casting out this demon because this guy actually looks demonic. So what does he do? He takes the masquerade, notices that he has a husky voice, changes his husky voice, takes him through voice training, tells him to speak with kindness. Now he notices the cane in his hand, removes the cane from his hand and turns it to gift. He looks at his costume and he says, this is not friendly. He puts a red costume with a white cap on him. Then he knows that he needs to make money from all the people fighting. What does he do? He weaves a story, December 25, and renames the guy Santa Claus. And he represents him to the market as Santa, weaves it around the birth of Jesus Christ and says Santa is coming bearing gifts. The once upon a time scary guy suddenly becomes friendly in December. The person casting him out brings his children, pays money to to take his child to see Santa. He doesn't know he's still the same masquerade. But the innovation guy with global business prospect is seeing beyond the four of them. But guess what? There's a sixth guy who sees an entire sector with certification program and global fashion fad. So what does this other guy do? He notices that, wow, why should we make it only Santa? We can also make it Halloween. So he looks at All Souls Day, November 1st, makes it into Halloween costumes, and he begins to make more Halloween. But we need more people behind the mask. So he creates a masquerade certification program, makes it global, puts it in Harvard, and everybody begins to take that certification program, paying so much money. It becomes a global trend. So you see masquerade in Japan, you see masquerade in China, you see masquerade everywhere in the world. The seventh guy comes and says we can create a fashion show, a global competition like Mr. World. So he creates the ultimate masquerade plus a TV series. The children of the demon casting person, they are still casting out demons. The cultural person is still holding on to his culture, but it's broke. The business person has minimal money, but this guy has now reinvented it, made it a global competition. Everybody is representing, every nation is presenting their ultimate masquerade representative. At the local level, they are doing national ultimate masquerade person. There's a TV series that is holding everyone spellbound. Guess what? There's an ex-guy who looks at the masquerade and says there's blockchain technology. Why don't we create NFTs around this? So he creates NFTs, put it on metaverse, and the whole world is making money off this guy. There's a nice guy who sees $1 billion industry. Now look at this. Someone saw demon. Another person saw culture. Another person saw business. Another person saw costume business. Another person saw innovation with global business prospect. Another person saw an entire sector with certification program, and it became maybe Harvard, an entire course. Another person saw a global fashion fad. Another person saw a global competition called Ultimate Masquerade. Another person saw NFT. Another person made it an entire $1 billion industry. Number 10 can be what else? There is much more. So that is showing us that I don't have to see the way you see things, but what I must do is to accept your humanity, respect your worldview, seek to understand you, and seek to love you. If we all are like this, we will create global peace, because our beliefs, all these people, what they see is very valid. What they see is their truth, but their truth, none of their truth is universal truth, because people are permitted to see all sorts of things. And that takes me to what I have always believed, that all we know is all we know. But what we know is not all there is to know. The moment you agree with yourself that I know all there is to know, you've already failed. And you are a candidate as a terrorist, because all you know is all you know, but what you know is not all there is to know. So what must we do as we seek to use the family as a place where we can cure global chaos? Number one, everyone here needs to learn to promote humanity through aggressive human education. Now, if you look at every human being, I have a school daughter who is still like my adopted daughter. She's been a Muslim since our school days. She's still a Muslim. I have not told her to become a Christian. I love her. I would support her. I will do everything I can to ensure that she's fine. She's on this call listening. So we must promote humanity through aggressive education, human education. We met Christianity here. We met Islam here. We met many of the differences here. If you look at the next person, you would see that there's a lot of similarities. So if we all here determine that we will only see humanity, we will see man made in God's image, not a religion, not a race, not a tribe. If that's what we would see, we will transform our world. Number two, we need to embrace and promote a family system that promotes the best interest of all. What that means is the family system engineering compliant. That was why we had to create an entire body of knowledge, which is the only certification program across West Africa right now. Now we are reaching out to state government to help them create family response squad, because policy must come side by side with professional certification. That the more people who can promote this and break down the barrier. So you can see the diagram. Every family needs a governance system. Every family needs a communication system. Every family needs a family educational system, family economic system, domestic management system, entertainment and recreational system, security system, family healthcare and wellness system. These are all systems that every family needs to build, because if evil can be conditioned, good can be conditioned as well. And that's why we offer family system engineering certification program. Number three, we need to model diplomacy and assist children master. I love what the chairman of education said, that we need to embrace diplomacy. Our children at loggerhead, we need to bring in mediation. Once we can teach them that you can see things differently and both of you are right, that is better to build bridges than to dig dungeons, then we will have our families work together. Once they can work together, then we can create a new society that collaborates for the best interest of all. Number four, we need to master the power of meaning and refuse to be part of any venture of movement that compromise the dignity of humanity. Drop the baton. What that means is, what will things mean to you? If someone looks at me and says my Jesus is stupid, I'm not going to fight the battle of Jesus. Should they say Jesus has power? Let Jesus defend himself. I was not here when Jesus came, except what I read, and I believe it. However, I am not going to die for insulting Jesus. The same way I do not think any human being needs to kill someone else because they disagree with you, right? If somebody insults your God, let the God fight for himself. I don't recommend that. Respect people. If they don't want their God insulted, don't do that. However, if we master the power of meaning, if you call me stupid, I won't respond to you because I know I'm not stupid. Now, in fact, if stupid means to me that I am the most handsome guy, if you call me stupid, I will smile. Let me say this to you. Language can be manipulated. Language creates feeling. But what you want to feel must determine your beliefs. So if you rig yourself contrary to how you've been rigged and master the power of meaning, if they call you useless, it will mean to you less use, which means they don't know how to maximize me. So instead of getting upset, you will empathize with them because they don't know better. Number five, become an instrument of peace and spread the energy of love. There can't be a peaceful world without peaceful individuals, right? And if there is chaos within us, and how do you know? If you hiss all the time, if you scream all the time, you yell, when things don't go your way, starting with children, if you are slapping them, there is no peace within you, right? If you're always yelling, shouting, screaming, It means it's the clearest indicator that there is trauma within you. And if you go on social media and you judge people all the time, it shows that there's a bit of trauma in you. We can all become an instrument of peace and spread the energy of love. And number 6, families must become clans, which becomes villages all over again with dispute resolution system. I've lived amidst Indians. I have seen them resolve their dispute. You will hardly see Indians in the diaspora take themselves to court over issues. Why? They have village system. They have the head of those villages who can mediate and promote their global peace. Jews do the same thing. Before you see them take themselves to court, it would mean that they've exhausted every opportunity. But Blacks, we are too quick to pull ourselves down. Africans, we believe that if someone's own does not spoil, your own can never be good. That's a wrong way to live. Our families must become clans, which means 10 families must come together to form new villages. We cannot depend on the villages we call our villages right now because we don't understand a lot about the village and the village has not evolved. We need to begin to create new villages, which is why we do community infusion programs. So we must be able to resolve dispute and appoint someone that we all defer to. And lastly, we must leverage family-centered politicians to push policies that can promote family peace. I'm glad we have the Honorable Commissioner here to grace this occasion and be one of our panelists. We thank you very much for honoring us. We have people like that in power. We need to leverage them and promote family-centered policies. So, for example, if everyone who is pregnant is mandated to go through a parenting education, that is a way to save our world. If everyone going through court system is, to get married to the registry, or people going to church or mosque is mandated to take family life education, wherein they understand how to run a family. If that becomes mandatory, then we will begin to teach people how to build family life that works. With psychometry, we will know people who are likely going to kill themselves and advise appropriately. So we need to leverage family-centered politicians to push policies that can promote family peace. Finally, let me say that love must be all that matters. And our concept called Ubuntu, which is the ideology of the Institute, that no human is human except through others. And the only tribe that exists is tribe humanity. When I was a child, my best friend, was Usman. We walked to school and put what is called Ofio when I was a child, right? Ofio. What is the English name now? I can't remember. But we'll put it on it's like granite, but we'll put it on our pocket and we'll eat together on our way to school. So one day, we were coming back from school and we branched in the church where there were boys' brigade practicing. So I picked the side drum, he picked another drum. As he was playing, the head of the band looked at him and he said, your face doesn't look familiar. And what's your name? He said, it's Usman. Said, are you a Christian? He said, no, I'm a Muslim. He said, no, you are not supposed to play this. This is meant for Christians. My friend started crying and I walked him home. As we walked home, I said, bye-bye to him. We'll see you in school tomorrow. By the following day, I had brought more granite to school, but my friend was stone cold. He wasn't my friend anymore. I asked him what happened. He said his father reported his father, and his father said we weren't meant to be friends. Best of friendship terminated on the altar of religion. I've seen that happen over again. People want to get married. You hear you can't marry an Igbo man because all Igbos are this, stereotyping. We do not think about the content of human character. We need to crash the walls that separate us and promote humanity because there is no me without you. There is no you without me. Whatever I do against you, I do against myself. Tyrants were not born. They were made from our families. Same way saviors were not born, they must be made from our families. However, we can't make them if we don't become peaceful individuals in how we treat ourselves and others, starting from our family. How do you treat yourself? What do you say to yourself when you mess up? How do you handle yourself? How do you handle your children? How do you talk to your husband and wife? How do you talk to your children? How do you treat them? That is where it must start from. We can create a new community in 20 years if all of us become agents of peace. And I'm going to leave you with the words of a song by Father Zizi that was composed many years ago. I'm going to allow you guys join me to sing it. Pardon me. In like 5 minutes, I'll be done. All right? And I love the song because it means a lot to me. Okay, so you can join me. It was written by St. Francis of Assisi in 2012. Just follow me. I'll come back and I'll wrap up.
make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let your love increase. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Walls of pride and prejudice shall cease. When we are your instruments of peace. Where there's hatred, we will sow his love. Where there is injury, we will never judge. Where there is striving, we will speak his peace. To the people crying for relief, we will be his instruments of peace. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let your love increase. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. All the pride and prejudice shall cease. When we are your instruments of peace. It's a commitment we all need to make today. Where there's blindness, we will pray for sight. Where there is darkness, we will shine his light. Where there is sadness, we will bear their grief. To the millions crying for relief, we will be his instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let your love increase. Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Walls of pride and prejudice shall cease. When we are your instruments of peace. All the pride and prejudice shall cease. When we are your instruments of peace. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I want you to remember as I wrap up that the most important nation on earth is the family. Because your family is the production factory of the society. If we all become peaceful individuals and promote a peaceful family system, we will create a peaceful community and ultimately a peaceful world. Always remember, love and peacemaking is better than war making. I'll repeat that. Love and peacemaking. Love making, peacemaking is better than war making. Let's make our family a haven of love, a haven of peace. Let's even start with ourselves becoming a people of peace, a people of love, and not a man of war, not in the Boski. Let's become people of peace. Thank you very much for inviting me. God bless you.
Wow, wow, wow. Let's show love. Let's show love. Please, let's appreciate PF for this awesome presentation. In fact, if we have to end this conference today, we have gained more than enough. Please, let's show him some love, appreciate him. It's a lot that he has given unto us today. A lot, a lot, a lot. I mean, qualifies enough to be a master's program. So thank you, PF, for this wonderful job you do. We have known this over 2 decades. You've been doing this. The Lord will continue to increase your wisdom. So 2 things I have gotten here now. The first one is family values. And this is what script children's future, nation's future, either intentionally or by default. Then the second one is belief system, because at the root of everything, at the root of every superiority complex, there is a belief system which drives how we see things. So the question I want to ask us is, when we leave this place, how do you see things that you see around you? So straight to the point now, we're going to the core of the business. So I'm going to hand over to Trilonia to take it from here. Thank you, Trilonia.
Thank you, PF. That was so phenomenal. I wrote down a few things and I'm going to ask you one or two questions. You know, it's the thing you talked about was just it's something that I have been, should I say, pondering and ministering with myself over, you know. And as you were speaking it, I was like, you know, sometimes the spirit is one, as they say. So you were saying things that really resonated with my spirit. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions before we play the next documentary. And I really am grateful and honored to be here to even listen to what you're saying. I think it's a huge honor. How has, first question, fear and guilt caused chaos in the world today?
Well, you see, when we talk about fear and guilt, you remember that we live in a world where we love to, you know, put people in zones and put them in silos. And we do that all the time. So if you go back, we have not created an enabling environment for people to fail. We have not embraced failure as a part of human existence and human journey. So when we were in school, there were some guys who scored 0 over 100 in primary school. Those were the same guys who represented school at sports. And they were the ones who brought glory to school during sports. But their intelligence is not captured in the classroom. What did the teachers do? The teacher who taught them to score 0, instead of the teacher to be the one that we put shame on, he asked us to bring them out and sing for them, Olodo Rabata, Ojo Ejalo Moje. So we started shaming them. Now, those of us who were not shamed saw it, and the clearest feedback we got was, the world is not a place where you make mistakes because they will not forgive you. So we learned to be secretive. Now, when you are secretive, you have filed away the pain. You are not dealing with it. It becomes trauma within you. So as a boy, you're not allowed to cry because you must man up. So you stomach a lot of pain, a lot of hurt. You put it within you. When you grow up into adulthood, you are looking for who to inflict the pain on because now you have power. It also shows up in the dining table. Daddy eats 6 meat, mommy eats 4. We give the child a little and we give him a precondition to eat the little. We tell him you must finish your food. So the guy begins to look, am I the only sinner here? Then what does he do? He begins to steal and he begins to look forward to a time he's going to become an adult. So we do not allow human beings to be human beings. We call them human beings, but we treat them as human things and human doing. And so when that is the reality, there is no way people can learn to fail and fail forward, right? Yes. And we all pretend as if we're not imperfect. Look at our prayers. God, the highest prayer, if I pray now, may you not fail. Everybody says amen. But how do you succeed if you don't understand failure? Because failure is simply feedback of what you have not mastered. So, but are we willing to see it for what it is? Once we begin to create that environment where people can honestly make mistakes and we surround them with love, they will bounce back better. And if love is what they feel, when they fail, then when others fail them, love is what they extend because love is what is within. Yeah.
Nice. I asked that question intentionally because, of course, when you want to capture somebody or you want to capture a group of people, once you instill guilt and fear in them, you've got them. And that's why even the religious sector, the political sector and everything, those are the first few things that, you know, they instill in us for us to be able to do that. But yes, like you said, definitely love must always prevail. I'm going to ask another question that is also important to me. There's this saying that it takes a village to grow a child, right? I believe that it takes a village to grow a human being. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, a child is eventually becomes a child is a human being actually that is just evolving. So it's still the same thing. I might believe that absolutely. As a matter of fact, in diaspora, I'm setting up villages for Africans. So I'm working on a group now. I'm working with the Ugandans to set up a village in Saskatchewan in Canada, right? And we're working in the UK and setting up build 2 villages at the present. But the challenge is that we need to situate that adage because the village that produced you can no longer raise your child. That village most likely has gone backward from what it used to be, right? But what you now need to do is, can you create your own village? Select the people, citizens of your village. That's like 5-10 families coming together to say, this is going to be our village ideology, village values, village DNA creed, village activities. We're going to meet together, do things together, and raise a new generation. See, if we have to aggressively heal our world, that's the way to go. The next 10 years is the decade of tribes and teams. So what that means is we need to begin to build aggressive tribes where we can model love. There's so much chaos, right? So we need to model love. We need to create intervention. I mean, I've worked with polygamous families to install a system that can power their love and power their peace successfully. I've tried one. It has worked. It took me 3 years, but it worked. That is what we need to begin to do. That all of us here, who are the people that will be in my village? How do we promote peace? If we begin to shut down chaos and all the senseless killings in Nigeria from our villages, it must start from senseless gossip that we do not tolerate any longer. To see my brother doing well and to wish I were in his position instead of lifting their hands up, becomes a problem. We need to begin to support one another to know that when Diola wins, I have won. When Dima wins, I have won. When the commissioner succeeds, I have succeeded. Instead of trying to pull everyone down. That is what I think we need to begin with. We need to determine our village, define our village, put a structure around it, and promote our village. That's what the Indians have done in the diaspora. That's what the Jews have done. That's what the Japanese have done. That's what I think Africans need to begin to do.
I'm going to ask you one more question, or maybe also give you a statement and then ask you what you think about it again. Now, what do you think about this statement? No one does anything inappropriately given their model of the world. What do you think about that statement?
Can you take that again, please?
No one does anything inappropriately. So there's no right or wrong given the model of the world that they've come from.
Well, I think I shared a bit of that, but you see, if we go by that statement, then I can say my model of the world is to cut off your head, and I'm going to cut off your head. There must be acceptable standards within the ambit of human existence, human living, right? There must be, I know that it's inappropriate for me to go out naked now. I know, right? And I'm not going to do that. So the day I begin to say I'm a nudist, and let everybody do whatever you like, there's going to be problems, right? So there is a group of people who are pushing that to now say everybody do whatever you like. I think it's a very fine line, and I think it's another extreme that is not going to go well, because your children are going to grow and say, this is my worldview. My worldview is to go to school naked, right? So when we think about others, and that is what human existence is all about. It's not about you. Ubuntu is I am because you are. If I think from your side and step into your worldview to say what I'm about to do, all things are lawful, but they are not expedient. Even though nobody will catch me if I dress naked, but is he expedient? How does he help the next man? If I think of the next man, which is where love is, I think if at the base of everything we do, we put love, there are things we will no longer do. I mean, see chaos, see couples in crisis in Nigeria, see them fighting themselves, even international people on social media, violence every day. You ask yourself, yes, my husband hurts me. He did bad. But do I need to go on Instagram and begin to fight him from there? Is that expedient? It may be lawful, but it's not expedient. And what signal am I sending about a family institution, right? Is it that I want to trend, or I truly want to get help? Because if I want to get help, I will go to a rehab or go to a psychologist or go to a family life practitioner. I will not go to social media, because social media does not help anybody anyway. So it looks like there is a problem I have not fundamentally addressed. So for me, we cannot live a world, I mean, or why do they have laws in different nations? Without a constitution, everybody will be killing everybody. Everybody will be messing up, right? So there must be acceptable rule, acceptable standard that we all adhere to, right? But in between it, we have to allow a bit of flexibility, because like I shared in the example, people are different levels of growth. right? Where I used to be 10 years ago is not where I am right now, right?
Yeah.
And as we grow, we must show love and compassion to those who are still growing, right?
Yeah.
And we also must also understand that people also are growing up, willingness to listen. And that's why I believe in the fundamentals law of relationship. Accept people, respect them, love them, and understand them. And understanding is the one I consider one of the biggest. Understanding is standing under. I can't understand if I stand above you or at power. I need to stand under, which is stooping to conquer. That is tough for many of us to do. And when we understand how to do that, I think we'll create a better world. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have other questions, but I'm just going to stop at that right now. And really, really thank you so much for being able to share those thoughts with us. I'm sure a lot of people have learned so much from you today, and we feel honored to have you as a guest on this. Well, you're a guest, but also part of us, right? But today you're a guest, and we're so excited to have you here. We're going to play a documentary right now, and I'm sure the media team are ready to do that. We're going to play a documentary to just share what FSC and what PF is about, and the institution that he runs, so that at the end of the day, we can also join it, and we can also be part of this community and village that he's talking about. Please play the documentary. Thank you.
Across Africa, there seems to be a gap. And the gap has been the fact that when people have family life issues, they do not know where to go as a family life therapist. In 19 years of working with various families, one of the biggest problems I found is the problem of parenting. Simply because an average parent does not understand the script that requires to raise a whiskey or a global icon.
Some single people will say to you that marriage is a necessary evil until they really want to venture into it. So people are looking for solutions, looking for answers to their family problems. And when people talk about their marriages, what do they get advices from? What are the templates that people use in navigating their lives?
That's what we're doing here. So the more you learn, the more you understand, the better. Wow, beautiful. So what is I wanted to tell somebody who has not attended this course? It's not something I can tell somebody to when you try it yourself. Because if I tell you, my testimony or my comments may be limited, but it's a course we're taking, no matter how far you are born into marriage. Because if it doesn't work for you, it can help you to establish you to help other people. Yes, so it's a course for everybody.
Where it is culturally acceptable to ask for, in a customary marriage, parental consent is a vital requirement.
In response to this loophole, the ruler and his team came up with this robust curriculum. It's been an awesome time, 7 days of real life experience, 7 days of learning a lot of things that I thought I believed in, and a lot of culture that have been put in us from when we were small. You now discover that some of those things are not even really true. So it's been a time of learning.
Plan your life from the end. So one of the things we learned in class in these 7 days is how to help people create a 25-year plan for their marriage.
The past 7 days has been very exciting, very insightful, has been mind-blowing.
I am Chris Owen, Premier Trainer, Family Systems Engineering Program.
Thank you for that. Please reach out to us if you want to join in taking the next. I'm sure we'll be able to post some of our links for you to be able to join in the next cohort of the Family Engineering Certificate course that we administer. And please also be reminded to share your key learnings using the hashtag AFLDC 2022, hashtag Global Families, hashtag Global Peace. Once again, I'll repeat that, hashtag AFLDC, capital letters 2022, hashtag Global Families, hashtag Global Peace. Share your learnings with us, share your key learnings, share everything and anything that you have learned today. Yes, so admin has posted it. Please, the websites that you can go to, and there are a plethora of courses that you can do to help your family heal. If I do it and you do it, then that means that that's 2 out of the billions in the world. So let's all come out and say, look, let's be intentional about our families. Let's be intentional about our own personal peace. Let's be intentional about our family's peace. Let's be intentional about world peace. Let's be intentional about love. For me, unconditional love, I say, is I love you always, in all ways. So that's what we should always keep, administering and speaking about. Love is what is important. And the numbers that you can call is 0812 +234 812 512 0410. Once again, +234 812 512 0410. And now we're moving on to having another segment where we have a panelist and we have some phenomenal people. I hope all our panelists are online right now, and I'm going to read a couple of their bios, and my wonderful partner Akinroko is also going to read some of their bios as well. So the first person I'm going to read is Mr. Adeyemi Agbelusi. Mr. Adeyemi Agbelusi is an accredited mediator and independent arbitrator. He serves on the panel of neutrals of the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, Federal High Court ADR Center, Lagos Court of Arbitration, Asia International Arbitration Center, and panels of several private, domestic, and international institutions. He's a member of the Standing Conference of Mediation Advocates. He's a fellow of the Society of Advanced Legal Studies, University of London, fellow Institute of Construction Industry Arbitrators, fellow Malaysia Institute of Arbitrators, fellow Arbitrators and Mediators, Institute of New Zealand, fellow Institute of Chartered Mediators and Arbitrators, fellow Institute of Management Consultant, fellow Chartered Institute of Arbitrators UK, member African Arbitrators Association. He publishes articles and webinars regularly on alternate dispute resolution. Welcome, Mr. Agbelusi. And Mr. Akinroko, I'm going to read the second one and then you can do the last two. So we also have Princess Ganiya Suleiman Olokodano, who is a trained clinical psychologist, a practicing faith-based psychotherapist, relationship and family life therapist, a passionate speaker and mental health advocate. Ganiya is passionate about all things healthy, body and soul. For the past 18 years, her dedication to her purpose of continuously generating promotions to a healthy lifestyle has seen her not only speaking at different fora, professional, religious, or business, but also running a private therapy practice where she provides services for individuals, couples, and groups in relationship education, counseling, coaching, and therapy. And we have some other phenomenal panelists here. Mr. Akinroko, you can introduce our other panelists. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Philonia Extraordinaire. So we have two left here. So quickly, I introduce Mr. Samuel Egube. He is the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budgets for Lagos State. He was chairman, member of several company boards, mainly in the financial, engineering, construction, advisory, and media services sectors of the economy. He also served as an advisor in the Expert in Residence program of the Enterprise Development Center of Pan-Atlantic University, Lagos, until he was appointed in August 2019 as the Honorable Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budgets for Lagos State, where he currently serves. Mr. Samuel Egube, who speaks often on relationship management, is the author of several books in the inspirational and self-help genres, including Relationships Are Value Propositions, From a Long Way When Your Boo Has a Boo, and Thoughts from a Wealthy Perspective. He is happily married to Edith Egube, and they have two lovely children, David and Elizabeth. The next panelist is ID Kabasa. ID Kabasa is a music producer and singer. Olumide Ogunade, better known as ID Kabasa, has said he does not know how to manage artists, despite having worked with several successful artists over the years. So, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you our panelists. Please sit down and fasten your seatbelt with open heart to receive nuggets, wisdom, and insights in today's meeting. So, our first panelist takes the center stage.
ID Kabasa. Do we have ID Kabasa here today?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing very great, ma'am. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for coming. So the first question is to you, actually. And this is the question. So Hitler said, give me the music of a nation and I will own the minds of the youth. So my question, what role do you think the music industry has played in the chaotic culture across Africa? And how did we get here? Maybe you'd answer that and then I'll ask the second question so I don't bombard you with too many questions at once.
Okay, thank you so very much again. And thanks to Praise for actually inviting me over to this noble platform. So quickly, they actually sent me that question, and I think the question in a way actually answers itself from what the writer said. So, but to break it down, to bring it more home, there is this proverb that we understood while we were growing up, where they say the piper dictates the dance. Now, if only what music dictates is the dance step, it would have been nicer, because what would have happened is people will just dance and forget their sorrow. But music does much more than that. I'm a musician. I've done music for almost 40 years now, if I look at where I started from in the church. But professionally, I've done it for more than 20 years now. So what I can readily say here is music is one of those subtle arts of expression that people actually use to express most times what human beings want to express, but because of, should I use the word, what people will say, or sanity or morals, that they are not able to express. Music is also a tool that people also use to express good stuff. So like Praise was saying the other time, for me, I've had conversation and I've tried to tell people that music is neither good nor bad. It's all a function of what you use it for. So I think I will, for what demands from that particular quote, I want to actually build on the part of what is being used as from what you mentioned. You know, we were talking about peace, and when you look at peace, most of the time, I know today I was talking earlier today in church, and I was trying to differentiate between making peace and keeping peace. So for most conversations that we have when we talk, we try to make peace. I will try to keep peace rather. But in making peace means that you actually need to go to war. No wonder UNM, when they tell you that they want to go on a peacekeeping mission, they go to war. So which means keeping peace itself means that you actually have to bring any situation that you are trying to treat to the forefront. And people sit down to discuss them to actually have understanding, like Praise rightly said. But for human beings, every time that we can't sit down, which is what is happening around now, everything that we can't sit down to discuss with people for the fear of being judged, for the fear of being seen as mad, for the fear of being seen as insane, we put them in music. So the melodies are so sweet, they are so good, people enjoy them. And some parents will tell you that, okay, don't listen to this particular artist, don't listen to that particular artist. But you will tell kids not to listen, but they like the melody. So in a way, they will actually find a way to get to hear the music. So I've had conversations around, so how does these things, how do they add up to actually create chaos around us? That is, we call, like the music we listen to now, we call them popular music, which is called pop music. So music are not just sound. They are not just, they are used to actually cultivate culture. For instance, an artist will change his hairstyle. Before you say Jack Robinson, every other person is doing that same hairstyle. An artist will say a particular thing about a particular thing, and everybody is saying that is what it is. We live in the post-truth era where people believe what they feel more than what that thing is. So when Praise was actually speaking and he spoke about meaning, so somebody that is still trying to struggle, somebody that is still struggling with meaning in life comes up. Oh, okay, I think there's a disruption.
Sorry, that is out. You can keep speaking. And just so that you finish, you round it up. How can we then use music to effectively foster peace, amidst global chaos? So you can add that to what you're saying and then round it up so we can move to the next person. I'm listening. And we're listening.
Yeah, I remember I said, Praise actually took a whole lot of what I wanted to say earlier. So when he was speaking about some of those things, for music now, what happens with music is people put the ideologies, there is an agenda behind music, whether people like it or not, whether people know there is or not. People that make music, I'm in the secular system, like Nigerians will call them, though I just believe that I'm in the music space. I don't know whether it's secular or religious, but I actually do music and I work in all the sphere of it. And I will tell you that for every music that is released, there's an agenda for it. Whether consciously or unconsciously from the artist, they are influenced by what is going on around them. So, for example, the meaning we give to, and people spoke so much about meaning, the meaning we have given to being blessed, the meaning we have given to being seen as somebody of value, all of these things, they reflect in our music. People don't see resourcefulness as blessing, rather they see resources as blessing. So if I want to sing, rather than me to tell people to work harder, to do all of those things, I would rather start mentioning things that, I want to buy Bentley, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. Also, music, the way we use music, because of its emotional, what's that word? Attraction that it gives, because of the emotional attraction that you get from music and the way it's actually suit people, it's very easy to put salient messages in music that when you start listening initially, you will believe in your mind that you are not taking those things in. But trust me, it's like the fairy darts of the serpent. They are getting into you. The day you are ready to make decisions, you will make decisions out of them. Now, to quickly rush, I will now rush to the people making music. So I've said this online a lot of times that being famous or being a celebrity doesn't automatically make you wise. So we have ended up, because of the lack of meaning, we have ended up raising very influential fools that once they come online, they say all sorts of things that you will be shocked that people take, and they will tell you that is what it is. Now, how do we now use this same tool that I've actually mentioned a lot of ways that has been used strongly. How do we now use them? First and foremost, I would say that you don't try to kill the idea of popular music. Each time you try to kill the idea of popular music, it will grow. So what can first happen is for us to first replace the kind of music that we have now with the type of music that we think should be out. And how do we do this? We need to actually raise musicians, not just raise them musically, but also set up system structures and, things to back them up. Because like I said earlier, he who plays the pipe dictates the dance. The people putting money into the music industry determines a whole lot of things. That is why you will see a church guy that has been brought from the church into this system. You will tell them that, look, all my life, I want to do God's this. See, and we need to also understand that we are human beings first. We have spirits, we have a body, and all of these things, they have to be attended to. So don't always push people out from the religious point to say, when you get to do music, go and do religious music. No, people also want to enjoy it. That was why I said that the music, secular music that I do more, they want to speak what people will not say normally. People are more of the things that they hide than the things that you see. So we want to say some of those, let me say, passion that are inside us, some of those things that we want to express, that that if you express them normally, people will say, why are you behaving like this? But when you put them into music, they will say Shebi is just music. But that Shebi is just music is what you don't know, that by the time you are caught unguided, you will start practicing those things. And in this, because we tell so much, I won't say they are lies, because we tell some things that are true, not necessarily truth, we try to also live that life. So if I tell you that this is what blessing is, so I want to show you what blessing is, and people will start living a fake life, and your teenagers, your kids, see them live this life, and they actually think that that is what life itself is supposed to be. There are so many other things, but I think I should just skip it at what I've said now, so that other panelists can.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I mean, that was really, really good. And I'm excited that you started off on that note. I'm going to move to the Honorable Commissioner right now. And, good afternoon, sir. I hope you're doing well. And you are quite a busy man, and your schedule is quite tight, yet you're a husband and a father. How can a very busy executive build an effective family in today's world?
Thank you very much for inviting me.
My name is Adiola.
Adiola, how are you? Thank you very much for inviting me. I feel excited about this opportunity. I think the first thing we need to understand is that everybody has 24 hours of time, right? And I can tell you, when Praise started to talk about the framework around family development, you'll find out that you had something called family education, you had something called economic systems. Sometimes family breaks down because the economy is wrong. The economy is challenged. And when the economy is challenged, sometimes your capacity to take pressure, your capacity to even analyze correctly becomes quite confused, right? So that thing which we say we are very busy doing, we just first of all need to ensure that it is productive, it is addressing some of the systems that are required to develop the family, right? The second point is, it's not the amount of time that you, in quote, give to the family that counts, right? It's actually a combination, what I call a family management index. So it is time plus content, right? For example, the fact that you are idle and with the family always doesn't mean you're building up great family, all right? So neither does it mean that because you are busy, right, and you have a shorter amount of time to spend with the family, then the outcome of your family management systems becomes terrible. So it's about the principles that you build the family around, but it's also about the definition of even the word called family. And it was defined very clearly by Praise that it's a village. You know, you see children from very, what we call great homes. Their deviation happened in school, right? Which also takes a lot of time. And in my book, where I wrote about when your boo has a boo, I was actually sharing the fact that sometimes in that 24 hours, how much quality share, what mind share do you have with the party which you are building a relationship around? So you're at home and you go to work, your children go to school, right? And it is only the intersection that you have with them that you have that clear space to interact directly. What it means also is that your monitoring and evaluation systems need to be well developed. For example, how do you select the schools that they go to? How do you select the relationships? The way nations do it is that they issue something very interesting, which they call a visa, right? So if they don't want you in their country, you can't get in there. It's not exactly like that, but it is something that we need to begin to do, you know. So if you have 2 hours with your children, how would you use it is the point you need to be asking yourself. If you have 4 hours with them, how much more time can you create? How do you intersect or interact with their other ecosystems? For example, you attend PTA. That is one way of intersecting with the time they spend in school, right? Do you have interaction with the parents of your children's friends, right? Do you attend the parties so you are able to observe how things are developing, right? Do you attend sports meets, right, which your children are involved in? So the point I'm making is that it is not the time you spend at home that matters alone. It is the kind of the content that you expose your children to.
Quality.
It is the quality of what you are putting into them. And that quality, mind you, includes your evaluation of their friends and evaluation of their schools, evaluations of their various interactions. And you do not interact with those evaluations just by sitting on the table and defining what is good and what is bad. You evaluate them by actual participation, right? And also in business, what we call outsourcing. In other words, you create several layers of monitoring systems around your family. That way you can multiply the time you have. Just to lastly wrap up the answer to this specific question, in business, you know that there's something called building your business by yourself, a business that is tied to your talent. But if you want to really grow, you need to then begin to harness the talent of others as well, their ideas and other things into your business. And if you want to grow further, you begin to engage the resources that are not yours, right? In taking out loans, in inviting people to put in equity and all that. Now, but as you expand this ecosystem that supports the growth of your business, you are exposed to something called risks. And therefore, you need to begin to manage the risks that exposure brings. But, you know, someone shared with us that failure is also part of development. So if the child is not exposed sometimes to some behaviors that they got exposed as a result of the management of risk, how will they know, right, better from worse? Or what kind of cultures are more adaptable to what supports their own development and their growth? So the point is, let's not focus only on the time. Let's also focus on the content. Some children, some families start up very badly because the parents are also not qualified parents, you know, so they just start up. So even if such wrong parents spend more time with the children, it's worse off for the children. Some people that have turned out great, they will tell you it is their teacher in school or is their boss in the office. So that forms, I don't know if that's what you meant when you were talking about building a network of family engineering network and development. And I think that's how it works. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Samuel. Thank you very much for that. So Ghania, I want to ask you your own question, and thank you for also joining us today. So we're talking about polygamy and how has it been chaotic in many families across Africa, with many products of polygamy ending up with trauma. Can there be peace in a polygamous or blended family setup? And are there systems that can promote that?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the organizers for inviting me as one of the panelists. It's an honor for me. I begin in the name of the Almighty, the most merciful, the most beneficent. Yeah, polygamy or polygyny, as the case may be, is usually a very heated topic, almost across every culture, every society, and indeed every faith. So it's a topic that, it's a conversation that we really need to have from time to time, because as hot as the topic is, it also shows that it's not likely to go away anytime soon. It's something that will be a part of us, whether we like it or not, whether we accept it or not, because there will always be a certain category of people, however small, that polygyny as an option of marriage is what would work for them, you know. However, whether we choose to accept polygyny or not, we need to first understand what it means. It's not something that is just peculiar to one culture or religion. Indeed, it's something that has started, whether it's in Africa, whether it's in Europe, whether it's in Asia, and across so many cultures. A lot of societies have practiced polygyny as a form of marriage, just as they have practiced monogamy. A lot of even our monotheistic faiths have also permitted polygyny in one way or the other. And there is wisdom and reason behind this. As a person of faith, as a believer, I know that there has to be, God has his reasons for permitting polygyny at certain times and in certain situations. But it's something that comes with responsibility. The same way choosing to be in a monogamous relationship must come with the necessary responsibilities, knowledge that the individuals involved should have. So when we choose to look at polygyny from this perspective, we open our mind, we broaden our minds to the possibilities of the positive things that we can get from it, hopefully. Can there be peace in a polygamous or blended family setup? Yes, I'm sure our ancestors that started it and the different religions that permit it, they did so for the good that is inherent in it. But of course, over time, as societies evolved, as people began to become more selfish in achieving just their own, needs, with disregard for the needs and rights of others, people started to bring in a lot of practices that obviously made polygyny, something that is no longer looking very attractive, even amongst adherents of, the different faiths that allow it. But I would rather we choose to go back to those things that are good in polygyny. Why was polygyny as an option of marriage allowed or permitted or even practiced in the first instance? In societies of old, we know it was mainly to increase the number of members of the household for agricultural and productive purposes, economic purposes. So a man would marry more than one wife for just so he could have more, hands at labor, helping in the farm, going to the farmland, doing chores and all that. That was the initial intention. over time, as nations and cultures began to clash, everybody wanting to, excuse me, to impose their superiority on others, wars and conflicts began to happen. And then certain genders, particularly the male gender, who were usually the ones that went to war, began to die more. And then there were a lot of women and children left, without husbands and fathers. So it also became an issue for society at that time. They needed to, protect these women and children one way or the other. And so the men that were still around began to marry some of these women so that they could either, provide for the women and the children the late fathers left behind and all that. Over time, other reasons began to evolve. Some women in a monogamous marriage may find out that, they can't have children, maybe for medical reasons or whatever. And so polygyny became, that protective, that social protection for them. You know how it is, particularly in African societies, where once a woman cannot have a child or is seen not to be able to have a child, she's like discarded, she's looked down upon. So polygyny provided that social, valve for her to still remain in the marriage should her husband still, really desire to have a child. So he could marry another woman who hopefully would bear the family children, and she also could invariably, enjoy that happiness that comes with, having children in a marriage. So many other reasons why, people could want to practice polygyny. Some people become widowed at very young ages, and then they still want to enjoy the beauty and benefits of marriage. So for some of these women, because they might have had a child or two for their late husband, getting married to somebody who is probably already married, would be like a better option for them. So all these reasons show us that, yes, polygyny is something that, can bring peace if it is practiced properly. And with the players, in this case, the husbands, the wives, the children, and even extended family members, extended relatives, and indeed society at large, choose to look at it from that positive angle. When we keep having issues of, polygyny being seen only from the negative perspective, even those that wish to practice it genuinely, they become psychologically ostracized. They are shy. Some begin to do it in secret, so that just so maybe members of society or other family members or even their spouses, there are some spouses that will tell their husbands, some wives, they tell their husband, if you marry any woman, if you bring any other woman to this house, I will shoot everybody dead. Some people can go to that extreme. So these are things that make some people to do it in secret. But if we accept it as a reality that may be necessary for some people, it is indeed an option. I must always emphasize. In Islam, for instance, where Islam is one of the famous religions that still permits polygyny. Both polygyny and monogamy are options of marriage, and both come with, strict conditions. Even as a single person, you want to marry just one wife, you must do it with knowledge, with kindness, with compassion. You must ensure that you marry somebody that will bring out the best in you, and whom you would also have that, protective nature towards. Marriage is not an opportunity for you to lord, yourself over another human being just because you belong to a certain gender. So the same thing with polygyny. If we took a survey of many of us that are attending this conference for it, we'll find quite a number of us that are products of polygyny. So it's a concept that is our reality, really. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to add like my 2 cents to it from the blended family. I'm a stepmom as well. And one of the things that I believe that, can foster peace, aside from the therapy that the families need to have in the beginning, I think is because I think there should be some form of breakup party. And I call it a breakup party because these are the people that were part of the family before. So I mean the in-laws of the man or the woman who existed before the new woman or the new man comes in. And I think that party should be centered around being friendly and, you know, thanking them profusely for what they've done, letting them know that, and being specific about the things that they've done for them, right? Saying, thank you, you did this, you did that, you did this for the last 3 years. This is the kind of support that you have given to me, and I'm very grateful for it. However, I'm now building a new nation, a new family. And going forward, this is how this family is going to run. For the first 6 months, I mean, based on what you guys have agreed in therapy or counseling, you then state those cases to them and say, based on what we've done, where we are so far, I think that we should do X, Y, Z, or this is how our family is going to run for the next 6 months or 1 year. So that you also kind of help them with their own expectation of them thinking that they still have 100% access that they had before. So in this situation, you're saying to them, okay, look, you guys, this is what is happening for the next 1 year. So whether they like it or not is irrelevant. But the fact that you have shared something is what's most important. And you have said, this is now our plan or our goals or our mission or our vision for my new family, after thanking them for it. I think that's going to bring a lot of peace into that new family. And then the new woman or the new man is not coming into a place where there's already so much angst and bitterness and resentment. I'm not saying that it's completely avoidable, you know, however, there's still a carry along and people feel like they're part of the process without being just caught up and then saying this new person is the one that has brought so much difference into the family and has separated all of us. So that's my own 2 cents for the blended family. And I'm going to ask Dr. Agbelusi now. Africa used to have elders who can resolve disputes from the family, but that seems to have become a past order. How did we get here, and what do you think we need to start to do differently, sir?
Good afternoon, Adiola and Akinroko. Good to see you again. I hope you can hear me clearly. Good afternoon, Honorable Commissioner and co-panelists.
Clearly.
Okay, you've asked me a very big question. Where are the elders? I asked that question, I think about 7 years ago, that where are the grandmothers? When I saw that women of 70, 75 were wearing spaghetti, doing Brazilian air and all of that. So I was quite worried that grandmothers had disappeared. Anyway, where are the elders? Well, we can only give general submissions because we've not done a proper research on this topic. But one thing I would say is that the basis of this lack of elders' intervention in conflict is the rural-urban drift, the anonymity of the city. Like PF said, they are no longer villages. So you find that whereas a lady or a young guy could exhibit some immoral behavior in a village, you can know whose son is he or whose daughter she is, and you can basically escalate interventions with the father or the mother, get the child disciplined, corrected, and put back on the right track. But today, because of the rural-urban drift, people are Emmanuel John, I'm sorry if nobody with that name here, there is Aminu Ibrahim, all sort of names. I don't know who Mr. Ibrahim is, you don't know who Mrs. John is. So when you see them behaving in a deviative way, there's no way you can intervene as an elder. A lot of the young people therefore miss the chance for formation, miss the chance of intervention, and therefore we end up with a society whereby there's no one to correct those who are going down. So the rural-urban drift and the anonymity of the city is number one. You know, I go out and I see tons of young people under the bridge at Ojuelegba, under the bridge, all places in Lagos, some selling in the traffic, and they're doing all kinds of things. They have all kinds of hairstyles, hair lashes, and there's nothing I can do about it because I don't even know who their parents are. I don't even know where they're from. We have 1,001 people riding motorcycles all over Lagos State where I live. We don't even know who they are. There are no ID cards. Nobody's documenting them. And so whether they rape a girl, they're smoking drugs, there's no one I can speak to. So the elders can't intervene because they're elders in what context? Are they elders in the family? Are they elders in society? They're just old people. That's all they are. So nobody has ascribed any knowledge to them. And eventually even open their mouth to correct those people, they probably get beaten up. So you ask yourself, like the example is Sokoto, when young people took a young lady, beat her up and killed her, were there elders in Sokoto at that time? And what would they have done? So the rural-urban drift for me, I think is the basis of a breakdown of society. Again, I will now go ahead. The educational system. What does the educational system produce all over Africa, and especially in Nigeria? We produce people who are unskilled, people who are ignorant, people who are uneducated, people who have no values. And I'm not here to say how that happened, but the bottom line is that those people now have reached age 40, age 50, age 60, and they have this emptiness in them. And I think by now they should be elders, because if the United Nations says that the average age in Nigeria for life expectancy is 54 for female and 48 for men, so any guy who is 50 and 60 here is really an ancient person according to that statistics. So really, they're 48, they are 50. They never worked in their life. They have no relevance. They have no self-confidence. They have nothing, So that's really another core problem. Another core problem is the general loss of values, respect for self and for all others. I think to be an elder is to have found yourself and to have grounded yourself. So people who have grown old in society are those people who have just simply aged. They've added one bad day after another bad day after another bad day. And they're 70, they're 80, but they're still children. And I deal with them every day. They don't know their left from their right. They don't even know their purpose. They don't even know they have no identity. And so that's really another reason why the elders in society can't do anything to help us to create cohesion. So the elders lack wisdom, they lack parenting skills, they lack any knowledge about family systems and even what a family is. And you ask them, what is an ideal family? That's a simple question. What's an ideal family? Take a panel of 12 people who are above 70, 6 male and 6 female, ask them that question. I'm not sure you get any coherent response. And these are supposed to be elders in society. So elders are basically old people who have not developed themselves because the system has not allowed them to develop. Also, we have a society where historical facts are not kept. So normally, societies are governed by certain things, norms, values, and culture. And one of the things you have is the use of taboos. So you don't do this because this will happen. Now, when you don't keep history, taboos are lost. And so you have societies, I know, for instance, in some part of Nigeria, where the women and the men will never commit adultery. Because you know that it's a taboo, you will die. And they've seen people literally die. So no matter how beautiful they are, no matter how many men are enticing them, they will not fall for you because it means death for them or death for their husband. We saw one on social media recently who happened, and she did admit that she was in an adulterous relationship. That was why her husband died. So these taboos are being lost. Histories are not being kept. Society is anonymous. And then again, we now have a young population of children and of youth who are more aware, both through the use of the internet, through Google, and so they probably know more than their parents. I'm not sure that many people on this platform can help their children do their homework anymore. My first degree is mathematics. I look at my son, my son's arithmetic or mathematical work in secondary school, and I'm wondering to myself, can I handle this? Because the level of knowledge has escalated. So we need to get a lesson teacher who is coherent with the current syllabus to deal with mathematics and all the issues and science and things that they're doing, experiments and skills. So even the elders don't understand the children anymore. The children's minds are more dynamic. So you have a child of 9, a child of 10, and I've dealt with many of them who have committed suicide because they don't understand their feelings, or they're not able to cope with failure, or they feel that they're tired of society. And you see these universities, you hear that this young man hung himself because he left first class and got to second class and all of that. So even the children have evolved their own society exempt of the elders. So how do elders intervene in society they are not a part of? I mean, there's a current music going on now on social media. I find it appalling. I wish I probably have an offline record with ID Kabasa. The musician is half of the time on drugs, he's half naked, and I mean, it should be treated. It needs treatment. But we're celebrating him. And so I asked the question, where are the elders? Where are the government authorities? That won't happen in Rwanda. That musician won't last an hour in Rwanda. But he's here. He's making waves, he's becoming rich, and he's shining. Because again, we've lost our norms. So the social programming, social media, influencers, the high unemployment rates, economic distress, like the commissioner mentioned, and all of this basic society that has grown has really developed a new society whereby those who have aged in that society can't understand what's going on. They're at a loss. And they can
right now, elders don't want to be old. They want to be baby girls for life. They want to be young.
Exactly.
So really, I mean, they're not, even when you say where are the elders, they're not going to be raising up their hands because they want to be young forever.
They feel insulted. You call people Baba, Grandma, Grandpa, they get insulted.
They don't call me auntie.
Exactly. So that's where we are.
Thank you very much, sir, for that.
On that particular point, let me say one last line. A great quote says, a society is great when old men plant trees that they know they will never sit under. We don't have those old men, and nobody's planting trees.
Yeah, nobody's planting trees. I agree. Thank you very much, sir, for that. That was very insightful. Mr. Akinroko, you want to take over and ask our wonderful panelists the next set of questions? Thank you all. Your answers and your insights were phenomenal. And I'm really, really excited to be learning from all of you. Akinroko, take over.
Okay, thank you, Trilonia, extraordinary. Then again, we want to appreciate our panelists so far. The last speaker, Dr. Agbelusi. Thank you for that nugget. So my question here is for our Honorable Commissioner, Mr. Samuel Egube. Sir, governments sometimes frown at domestic violence, but same government invite artists with content and promote content on rape. This gets many young people confused. As someone in government, how can government support the families in promoting good moral values using family-friendly policy?
Okay, thank you very much. So the first thing I'd like to say, right, is that government does not sometimes frown at domestic violence. Government always frowns at domestic violence. Also, government does not support rape, right, at any time. The way to know the position of government is just to look at the laws, okay, and to understand that these laws, in fact, government starts with the people. Those people you see that run governments are people that came out of the society. So sometimes I jokingly tell people that if you are not observing the way the society and the demography is changing, you will miss a very big point. I say if your population is predominantly Okada riders, then they will legislate against car drivers. And they will definitely do that because they will feel car drivers are taking too much space on the road, right? And from their worldview, like Praise did talk about, is the understanding that that you have about a particular matter, the perspective that begins to lead you into how you adjudicate or how you view or how you decide or how you even legislate around that matter. And so we're in a crisis situation, right, where and when you just listen to the social media, you know, we are leading as a country when it comes to our activity in the social media. So you can easily see the analytical power of our people when you see the way they express themselves in the social media. And therefore, if those of us, I like to count myself as one of them, if those of us who are a little more knowledgeable do not begin to take actions quickly, then you will lose the plot because the people that will decide who will lead will be in the majority of people who do not have the cerebral capacity to even analyze the situation, not to talk of legislate in its favor. So I think the first thing we need to do as a people, all right, I always like to start from there because it's easy to talk about government, but government did not come from the moon. So the first thing I think we need to do is really to begin to participate in the political systems, right, of the country. Begin to be a party member, go and attend ward meetings, participate in elections. So let me give you some statistics. For example, in Lagos. In Lagos State, about 6-point-something million people are registered. And only about 5-point-something million of that have permanent voters card. But in the last local government election, only about 500-something thousand decided it. So it is important that we understand what is going on with the demography. Now, also, you must understand from my experience just being in government, that if you have like 100% of people, you probably will have maybe 10% of them that are diehard supporters. They will support you whether you are right or wrong. And you have another 10% who hate you, whether you are right or wrong. In fact, it's in their interest that you are wrong so that hatred might become bigger. Now, but there's about 80% of people who just want things to be better. Unfortunately, that 80% are the most quiet set of people. You don't hear their voices. They tell you thumbs up privately or tells you thumb down privately. So you find out that the airwaves are dominated by critics who hate you anyway, whatever you do, or supporters who love you anyway. And the people who are just trying to build a society, you don't find them at all on the airwaves. You don't find them. They are usually quiet, either suffering or enjoying quietly, praising or abusing you quietly. And so that basket of people are part of those that ought to influence society because they are thinking rationally, they are balanced, they are not necessarily critics for no reason. They criticize you for a good reason, and they support you also for good reason. And they hold in themselves the power to actually bring change. By the way, it's not only executive participants in government that drive legislation. Private citizens in their groups, in the way they organize, also drive legislation. And I think as a people, we must begin to encourage ourselves to participate. Now, if you go to some of these ward meetings, right, they will easily hand over the leadership to you. But we don't go because even they at that level are looking for leadership. When we then talk about, you asked the question about artists and all that. Sometimes, I mean, Kabaka talked about it. You need to separate the artist, right, from the music. And in that music, maybe you need to then begin to say, how does that music enter the society? Now, That music enters the society because of the economic power. And the economic power is driven by the people. The people are demanding for it. So it is, if the people don't like those kind of music, then those kind of music will not be the ones that are produced. The piper will not play those kind of music, because the reason why he plays those music is so that people can dance to it. If you keep cracking a joke that nobody laughs at, then you will change the tune of your joke. So sometimes there is this dilemma as you deal with a society like Nigeria, a broad society like Nigeria. I was talking in church, you know, and I was sharing with them that if people are prostitutes and they are confused in life, where really should they go to? And I was telling them they should be able to come to church for rehabilitation and for help and for support. But when they come to church, they won't be coming dressed up like you and I. They will be dressed up like the business they are used to. And so sometimes we need to interact with the humanity of people. We need to interact with their understanding. We need to interact with them in the schools, in the religious houses, in their workplaces, and of course, even in their families as well. We need to have conferences like this. And these conferences should not just be conversations alone. They should be policy articulation conferences that we can push through various houses of assembly. What that means also is that we must be able to lobby, right? Because that a policy is something you like does not mean the society sees it the way you see it. And therefore, you must also be able to lobby, and you must be able to build bridges and build a network across all kinds of influencers to get policy going that solves a lot of these broad societal challenges. I also think that, so government typically has different kind of rules. So when you look at government, so let's take Lagos, for example, you see that we are beginning to bring out rules around occupancy, how you occupy uncompleted buildings. You are beginning to see different kind of safety rules come into the space. You are beginning to see more activities that bring a little bit of discomfort, right, to people who are unproductive, because sometimes lack of production also drives some of these menace which you see in the society. Now we are beginning to more frequently do sting operations into communities that are like what we call, like all these shelters. I mean, shelters that are not legalized, you know, shanties and all of all that, right? But you realize that we are operating within a country, and you cannot issue visas to people that are coming into your environment. As the challenge, economic challenge of the country begins to get worsened, what you find is that people leave their various states and migrate into a place like Lagos, which is a small space. Now, how do you manage that space? How do you invest in that kind of community when a lot of the people coming in are coming in unskilled, are coming in without production? So there's a lot of pressure on the infrastructure. One other way of doing some of these things is the policing system. For example, how do you, when people go out of line, how do you implement enforcement? Now, but because of the way the federation works, the policing system is controlled federally. So even though the population of Lagos is growing by urban migration, so we're about 27 million now. I mean, if we looked at just 8 years ago or 16 years ago, probably we're about between 16 and 19 million. Now, but the money level of the police force doesn't match it. And the state is not at liberty, like other states, to recruit and enlarge that force. You know, so it's the reason why there's lobby from everywhere, and all of us should join in that lobby to ask for state police, so that those states who can disproportionately invest further in expanding the manning of the police force on ground would help. We are also putting in all kinds of dispute resolution and all kinds of judicial systems that help address some of these issues as well. To wrap up the issue as to what should government do, there's a lot of education that must continue to go on. Is the reason why sometimes people accuse us that we are extremely sensitive. Something happens in a school that is completely out of line, and on our blind side, we shut down the school. Now, yeah, maybe you should let the school open, or maybe you should shut it down, but we just need to send signals, shock signals into the system to say, look, we can't continue to accept a society that is growing in this area. Some people have also advocated some censorship in religious organizations, certain religious organizations or certain leaders are extremely radical, and they radicalize the system sometimes. We also need to begin to look at how to intervene in these broad aspects of
Thank you. Thank you, sir, Honorable Commissioner. So far, one thing that stood out in your submission is that everybody should get involved in politics. That when we go, to these world meetings, they're looking for learned people to come and take the mantle of leadership from them. So on this point, I want to advise everybody that don't just get your voters card, get involved in the delegate system. Delegate system determines who the leaders will be, and at the same time, the extent of the policy that will favor the society. So, Honorable Commissioner, please, I will come back to you. So my next question, I actually have two questions for Elijah Gania. Okay, so the first one is on polygamy. I know part of the injunction of Prophet Muhammad is that whoever that wants to go into polygamy, one of those requirements is they must be somebody of that the mental state is well ascertained. So in this context, in these present days of Nigeria, Africa, or the world, how possible is for anyone that wants to go to have second wife, third wife, how do we ascertain the mental status of that person before the person goes to? Because it's so easy for people to say that my religion permits me to have it, but one of the requirements is that who ascertains the mental status of a man before the person goes to goes for a second wife or third wife or fourth wife? That's question number one. Please let me hold that, Elijah. Then the second question is, family is the bedrock of the society, and family starts when husband and wife comes together, which means premarital becomes key. How do we assist singles to prevent wrong marriage, which leads to social media violence? So, Elijah Gania, two questions for you, ma.
Thank you very much. Let me first make a quick correction. In Islam, yes, polygyny is allowed, but like I mentioned earlier during my first submission, both polygyny and monogamy are options of marriage. So the same requirements for monogamy are also required for polygyny with some extra restrictions. While a man who is single, if he's of a marriageable age, he has the wherewithal, he has the required mental capacity, as you have said, he's encouraged to get married as soon as possible. If he wants to get married a second or third or fourth time, the same conditions still apply, with the extra, proviso that this time around, he must also have that added skill of being and capacity of managing, more than one spouse. And this skill is so stringently emphasized that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that any man that marries a woman, marries more than one wife, and does not treat them right, does not treat them fairly, that man will be raised on the day of judgment blind and paralyzed. Just thinking about the picture of this, that is it worth it, because I want to marry more than one wife, for me to come, before God on that day when he's going to judge all of us? I'm already paralyzed halfway and all that. That is to discourage anybody that, they just want to do it for no good reason. It means that getting involved in a polygynous marital situation is something that people must take seriously, and you must have genuine reasons. You must also prepare for it. Now, the reality also is that Islam, being a practical and realistic religion, knows that a man cannot possibly love the women equally. God himself knows that, and he has told us so. The same way, even as parents, for instance, we don't love our children equally. We love them differently, uniquely, in their own way. So loving your wives equally is not a prerequisite for being involved in marriage. You remember I mentioned earlier that people could, be involved in a polygynous marriage for different reasons, and it may not even be for love. For some, it's just that protection. For some, it's just, this wife is always busy. She has a career to run. She doesn't have time, So those are reasons. But once you become involved, you must treat each spouse as fairly as you should, because each spouse, each wife has her own rights over you that you must ensure that you meet. Yeah. Now, coming to marital counseling. Yes. Premarital counseling is something that is very, very important, particularly in the times that we find ourselves. I mean, in the last almost 20 years that I've been in counseling and all that, my emphasis has always been on relationship counseling. And you can imagine my continuous sadness to the fact that things that were an issue as far back as the early 2000s are still an issue now. In those days when, it was literally unheard of for people to want to seek counseling. As a psychologist, then we would beg people to even, to come for marriage counseling. Some of them, maybe when it's a week or 2 days before they are married, that's when they will just come, and say, please, can you just quickly give us some advice, in under 30 minutes. Thankfully, now things are changing. People are beginning to see the importance of seeking counseling before marriage, because indeed, that education is key. Again, in Islam, there is nothing we are encouraged to do that shouldn't be done with knowledge. In fact, worshiping God himself, God, commands us to first know him before we worship him. In the same vein, everything we want to do must not be done out of ignorance. Even, something as important as getting married. So singles should be encouraged to go for premarital counseling, premarital education. If possible, our relevant government agencies should begin to, make this a kind of prerequisite for people to get married, because the damage that is being done, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So we need to, as we say in FSC, the family is the production unit of any society. It therefore means that whatever a family is bringing out on behalf of society has to be sound, has to be done with, the utmost skill and preparation. Singles should seek education and counseling before they get married. Sometimes the education is for them to know how compatible they are. Do we have what it takes? Are our personalities, in sync? Are our family relationships going to be compatible? Because, as Africans, for instance, in Yoruba culture, we say that that a bad spouse could be tolerated, but a bad family or relatives is not something that anybody would wish upon themselves. So we must look at how compatible we are as individuals who want to get married, and also the extended family that we are going to be joining together in marriage. So all these things are critical for us to let the singles know about. Sometimes premarital education will encourage them to see that, we are better off going our separate ways. And in so doing, they would have saved society a lot of havoc that will come in future. Because a marriage that is not solid, that is not set on a solid foundation, will, invariably bring forth children that are causing chaos, as we have seen in society now.
Yeah.
So
Thank
this is
you.
something that we must begin to encourage.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of nuggets, wisdom to pick from here. So, Elijah, I will still come back to you. But now back to Honorable Commissioner. I love something about parenting. Honorable Commissioner said sometimes ago. He said, family management index. First of all, he said it is not about all about the time you have for your children, but look at this index. He said family management index is equal to time and content. So now brings us to the next question, sir. Sometimes ago, there was a massive destruction of properties during the last EndSARS, and many of the miscreants were from dysfunctional families, which means that the crisis was a clear show of the major family epidemic in Lagos State. Sir, what do you think we need to do differently to start to ensure we raise children that can become responsible adults? Honorable Commissioner, sir.
The question itself, the way you're asking it, looks very energetic. Okay, so I think that, we might narrow the space of the conversation by just making an assumption that miscreants come from dysfunctional families. I would rather say that miscreants come from dysfunctional society. And when we talk about the village raising the child, we must put our drag nets to that extent to get it correct. Some of those people you call miscreants joined cults while they were in university. Some joined when they were in secondary school. Some were radicalized in their religious houses. Some were in the streets as a result of poverty in the home, not necessarily because the parents were bad, right? So it is a societal challenge. The way I would like to put it is a societal challenge that the family unit can begin to help to solve. And when I say the family unit, I earlier said, let us define the family unit a little bit wider. Some people came to Jesus Christ and say, your mother and your father and your brothers are looking for you. And he said, who is my mother and my father, apart from these ones that we are together here, right? So we need to understand that if we do not have the frame correctly, we might solve the wrong problems, right? It's a wide societal problem, and it's a problem that we must fix in the different segments in where they occur. So if I'm going to church, for example, I like to get to church early, but I'm keen as to how my kids get there, right? I'm keen as to what they are learning there. How are they interacting? How are they engaging themselves? I'm interested also in what's happening in school. What are their friends saying? What opinions do their friends have on different kinds of topics? Right? I'm interested around, from government, for example, we have an entire quality assurance system. But in a society that is galloping and growing, the population is growing very greatly, the amount of schools are also multiplying. So we are strengthening the quality assurance systems. And of course, sometimes, just like in any society, some things happen on a blind spot, which then begin to help you evolve policies and evolve further control mechanisms that make things better. But when we now say we are in a society, right, one of the first things the society does is to make laws, right, through various representatives in the House of Assembly, in the Senate, in the House of Reps, and all that. Now, it is the society that puts pressure on the nature and the type of laws that they need to make, right? Sometimes they might push it through the executive arm, but the way the democratic system works is that even the society can sponsor bills and make adjustments to existing bills to allow this evolve. The problem is that we are only primarily interested in elections. And then we give up on our responsibility on the governance side, right? I remember the governor of Lagos saying during the campaign that we must come to that point where we accept that governance goes, or the power of the people goes beyond the ballot box, right? When someone wins an election, don't just say it's over. It's up to the person to do the right thing or to do the wrong thing, right? You can even restrain an executive arm by pushing a bill through the legislative arm. Or you could, there's so much we can do if we organize ourselves differently to determine the rules that govern our communal living, right? Yes, and those channels really do exist, and those channels also should be activated by the citizens. Conferences like this, and in the various groups, I know it's not just one group that is here, in the various groups that we are not as powerless as we think when it has to do with governance. And I can tell you the truth that there is no politician, no matter how powerful he thinks he is, that is not concerned as to what the people think when they act together. Even in the Bible, God was concerned. When the people said they wanted to build a tower to go to Babel, he said, this thing they are doing, nobody can stop them from achieving it. So I think that when it comes to miscreants, yes, they are part of a society. They are also part of families. And some of them don't know that family position where they were born into. They don't know their father. They don't know their mother. Sometimes they are being created also by wars. And when you have wars and challenges in trouble spot, for example, in the north or in any part of the country, when a place is unstable, right, you begin to create IDP camps. Sometimes the IDP camps are terrible, you know, in the way they administer. So people move into society. People are looking for empowerment, and sometimes people live where they are and come into Lagos or into any city, for that matter, where they feel they can find one. And when they come there, sometimes they are without a home, they are without fathers, they are without mothers, right? How does it work? How do they get cultivated? Now, there are two things, last things I would like to say, is that one is that when we look at the human being, it's like looking at light and darkness. Everybody has a good side, and we must figure out how to cultivate that good side, right? It's easy for us, especially in our religious houses, to focus on the bad side, right? On the things that people are doing wrong. But there are also a lot of things that people are doing right. And as we embrace people, like, we need to begin to develop our capacity to love and to cultivate the good side, so that those good sides will grow and dominate our entire society as a whole. The second about miscreants is that they are human beings. And we need to move close to them as a people. I mean, we have in government, for example, in Lagos, we have what you call Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. It's an entire ministry. We have what we call Wealth Creation and Employment. We have youths also, and they run several programs. The Women Affairs, they have about 21 positions delivering skills to people and empowering them. But it can never be enough, right? It can never be enough. So also, when you think about Lagos and you internationally, we are hailed for how we handled COVID. I mean, we're champions, epicenter, and we were able to coordinate it. The way it worked, right, is just the way our byline, or what we say about ourselves. When we say, that means if you want to build Lagos, it is not the hand of one man, it's our coming together that makes it happen. So in the COVID experience, for example, one of the reasons Lagos did so well is that as a state, we acted quite decisively and very affirmatively, and then communicated with the people a lot. But that was not all. We had corporate Lagos also acting on their own. And we had individuals and NGOs also acting on their own. And then you had these three systems also collaborating with each other to act. And when you have a network that is acting in this way, you have a society that is formidable and can push back COVID and can push back Ebola and can push back every other thing that stands against us.
Thank you, sir.
Delivering great outcomes starts with the people, right? Ends with the people.
With people.
Right? And people basically creating a network. That is why when someone said a network of family engineering and development, I caught it, because it's a network. It's about relationship cultivation, relationship management, us working together to create outcomes that benefit our people together.
Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. It's been an interesting engagement and a very fruitful one at that, with all our participants so far. I mean, the facilitators of this conference. It's still pathway to global peace, right? Okay, so we're gradually coming to the end of this conference. But before we go, I want to hand over to my co-host, Trilonia Extraordinaire. If we have
hello, I'm back again.
other questions from the group.
Rocco, I see like you like that name, so I'm going to keep it just because of you, okay?
Please, I love it. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being phenomenal panelists and for all the nuggets that you have shared. I'm sure people here, I doubt that their lives will be the same again just by listening to what you all have to say. So thank you very much for coming on board, and thank you for taking time to spend this afternoon with us. We don't take it for granted and we don't take it lightly. And of course, your vision and your values definitely have shown forth through the words that you spoke. And we're very grateful. Thank you very much. I want to say that if you have any questions, anyone, for our panelists, please drop them in the chat so that we can ask our panelists and they can answer. If you have any particular questions that you want to answer, they're still here for another 5 minutes. Please put your questions or raise up your hands and we can call you to ask the questions and our panelists can answer. 5 minutes, and if there are no questions, we'll call this a day, and I'm going to call the chairman to come back up, Dimma, to come and close this phenomenal session and this conference for the year, and waiting for the next year. Anybody with any questions, please post in the box once again, in the chat box, or raise up your hands and we can answer the questions. Okay. Yeah, okay. So Heidi Kabasa wants to say something. I'm going to allow you to say it, okay? You can ask that question. Yeah, you can address the issue whilst people are posting their questions. Heidi Kabasa, okay, yes, address it whilst people are posting their questions, and I can ask the questions as I see them. Thank you. So you've got 2 minutes though. Thank you.
Thank you so very much once again. Okay, now there was a question that was asked the Honorable Commissioner about why the government actually invites some artists that they know their songs are not good and all of that. So, like I was rightly saying the other time, that instead of us concentrating on why they are inviting those artists, let us also look at the need that the government wants to actually fulfill by calling those guys. So nobody wants to invite an artist that has a good song, but that is not popular. Government is looking for popular figures. They are looking for influencers. They are looking for people that, even in churches don't call very anointed singers. They call the popular ones. So why not invest in, and I'm a Christian, there is a promise to Abraham in Genesis 12. He said, I will make your name great. If you read it from every other version, he said, I'm going to make you famous. So if we have an agenda to actually want to control what goes on with the kind of people the government wants to invite, or the kind of people that we hear their song, I think there is going to be a need to deliberately invest in creating our own kind of influencers. And those influencers can be well funded up to a point that you might not be able to push out those other guys, but you will be able to push out their idea. Because at the end of the day, it is not really people that is faulty. It is the system in terms of ideas and what is it called? Values that they are putting out. So in order for us to put our values and all of the things that we wish to be out there, in order to put them out, instead of just saying this one is not doing it well, this one is this one is that, we might need to actually put our mind and focus into actually creating the kind of people to actually do what we want.
So rather than complaining, we create. That's what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And you've got a question here. Somebody says, what can we do to reduce the negative musical content? That question is for Ivy Kabasa. So since I've got you here, you can answer that question.
Okay, I think I actually answered.
You have answered it already?
Yeah, already. That what we need to do is not to kill the other idea, rather is actually to start pushing. And it starts from the family, it starts from the society. We need to, in fact, let me say this, more from our religious fronts. It starts more from the religious fronts. What are we telling people? Like I said earlier, I said music, people, a lot of the stuff you are hearing now, they didn't start today, they've been there. King Sonny Ade, you can look out for songs that it did does, all of this. Shino Peters, you can look for. So you look at some of the things that are hidden in us that we are not saying, that we want to say, that we want to express, that are being put into music. Some of the things that we codedly actually love to do, that people do, that they don't want to do outside, but they are looking for a means to still express it. They are put into music. So to change all of these things, come with the right meaning to marriage, come with the right meaning to love, come with the right meaning to blessing, come with the right meaning to everything that these guys are singing about. And when the right meaning, which is the truth, comes into play, there's always a way that the truth will swallow the wrong one that people are portraying. So I think we should encourage more and put our, let me use the word, our mouth where our money is.
Money is. I hear you, my brother. I hear you. Thank you very much for that. Now, there's a question here from Miriam. If a couple have a problem, how do you convince a partner unwilling to go for therapy? And maybe I'll ask Ghania to answer that question and wrap up in like 2 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a challenge that those of us in the counseling field usually experience, when it's just one partner in a marriage that is willing to seek counseling. As much as personally, for instance, I encourage couples to come for marriage counseling. In the event that one partner is unwilling, we could still work with the partner that is ready to seek help. You know, sometimes seeing the change that partner is going through could invariably encourage the unwilling partner to also now come up for counseling. And even if they don't, it will make the willing partner a much better person, and they can take the decision, that personal decision, whether, you know, as they are growing, as they are becoming better, whether they want to, you know, like remain in the relationship or find alternatives. So, but sometimes when the unwilling partner sees that, oh, there's really something at stake here that I'm going to lose out on, it could also, like, you know, bring them out to want to seek counseling. But counseling is something that must come from, you know, from the person's heart. In fact, as professionals, we can't force people to come for counseling when they are not willing to. But we can, you know, once they are willing to participate.
I'm going to just use myself as an example. When I thought we needed help, my husband said he didn't need help. I knew I needed help. I went to find it. It didn't matter whether anybody wanted to go with me or not.
Yes,
so if you want help, go and get help, regardless of whether your partner wants to go with you or not. If you find yourself struggling, you find yourself sad, you find yourself hurt, depressed, and all those things, it means that there's something that needs to happen. Go and get help, regardless of whether other people follow you or not. Like Ghania said, possibly they may follow you, but they may never. So don't go there thinking, oh, maybe Coach Ghania said he might follow me. Don't go there thinking that. Go there because you need help, not because if you shift, everything around you will shift. The meaning you give to things will shift as well. So let it start with you. Okay, so I'm not sure that I can see any other questions. I'm going to ask Mr. Agbelusi to just give a roundup as well. And okay, well, there's one more question for Ghania. How can we have premarital family counseling affordable for masses and attractive? Well, I'm sure you know what that means.
Well, affordability is relative. If something is important to you, you would find avenues to meet it.
It's an investment.
If you see marriage as
an investment.
Yes.
See it as an investment. Invest on yourself, not wig or bag. Invest on yourself and in yourself. You'll be happy for it. Don't be looking for affordability. Look for what is effective and what is needed. Sorry, Gania, I stopped you from saying that because I knew that once you start, you keep going. But I knew what your heart was saying, so I said it for you, and I love you too. So, Mr. Agbelusi, can you please wrap up for us today? And then I'm going to call on Dima to come and wrap up this wonderful conference for the day. Thank you.
All right, then I'll just thank you very much for this quick opportunity. Basically, like PF did mention, the family is in a chaotic state right now, globally and at societal levels. Here in Nigeria, the northern youths have blocked all the roads. We are all traveling by air. The eastern youths are doing the same thing. We don't work on Mondays. And even here in the western side, there are gangs on every street where you can't even drive a few quarters. You have a breakdown of your car, 100 people pounce on you, and there's so much upheaval all over the country. So basically, we all need to start looking at ourselves. The family is a place where we start to learn. We learn both good habits and bad habits. So habits like listening to other people, letting them speak, not knowing what they're about to say, being able to be adaptable to other people's behavior, respecting differences of others, learning to obey the law and not allow impunity to reign. A lot of things like PF mentioned. Parents have one rule, so it's like do as I say, not as I do. So impunity.
Not as I do.
Also, a downplay on ethnicity and religion. We don't choose our religion, like PF did mention. If he was born in Saudi Arabia, he'll be a Muslim today. I'm appalled at the way we promote ethnicity and religion in our society, which are very personal things. And our constitution says that we're a secular nation. People should hide these things and just reflect the natures of them and not the context of them. And then also, basically, the use of medical knowledge. I posted an article there, which is a response to trauma and domestic abuse. We have behavioral therapists, we have clinical psychologists, we have therapists, we have trauma counselors. People keep trying to solve the problems in the home. No, people have gone to school, they've been educated, and they can help you. So just like you find that you have cancer, you have a broken bone, or you have any physical ailment, and you go to the hospital, when you have depression, emotional illness, please seek counselors, seek people who are qualified. Go to the psychiatric hospital. There's no shame in it, and get yourself treated. There's sleep centers. People dealing with insomnia, and go and get treated. So these are things that we need to promote, and there's no shame about it. And most importantly, emotional intelligence needs to be taken to part of the school curriculum. Self-awareness, self-management, and all the like. So we need to build a civil society. We need to mothers to teach our children and fathers teach our children interpersonal skills, respect for the dignity of others, respect for human life, respect for hard work, and the dignity of labor. These are things that we need to build a better society and reduce conflict. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That ended it so well. And you sounded very, very, I'm sure you've spoken to a lot of hearts here and people who can connect to what you've said. And we're very excited to have had you on the panel today. And every other person, Mr. Egube, Mr. Agbelusi, I'm sorry, Commissioner, Honorable Commissioner Egube, Gania, Akinropo, you're my guy. And then Aidi Kabasa, thank you very much for being on the panel today. And for all the wonderful things and insightful things that you've said. I want to say thank you to PF as well for also giving such a powerful and phenomenal keynote speech. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Akinroko now, who is going to introduce Dima to come and close today. Once again, my name is Adiola, trillionaire extraordinaire. I know Rocco is going to smile as I say that, but thank you very much for joining us all over the world. It's been such a wonderful day and such a wonderful time as well in your presence. Thank you.
All right, so we have come to the end of this year's conference commemorating the International Day of Family with the theme, Pathway to Global Peace in the Midst of Global Chaos and Disruption. So you will all agree with me that in the past 3 hours, we've gained more than enough. This is a conference that is worth, I don't even know, it's so priceless. It's so priceless because everything we've gathered so far, it's enough, right? You know, to position our family for global peace. And like PF said, the family is a production of the society. When a family or when there is peace in families, there will always be peace in our nation, Nigeria, and everywhere we find ourselves in Africa and in the world. So I call on the principal, Madam Dima, to just give the closing remark for this awesome conference. If I have my way, I don't want it to end again, but we have to do some other things and we have to release our facilitators and also the people who have signed in to log on for this conference. So thank you, Madam Dima. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Akinroko. Thank you, Adiola. I want to say thank you to all of our panelists, Honorable Commissioner, Venerable Abelusi, Venia, who is an in-house member of the Network of Family Systems Engineering, ID Kabasa. You all have done amazing today. Like when we started off, I said that we wanted to just be here. And like ID said, not just talk. We wanted to be able to come up with systems and strategies that will help us. And so in closing, my question will be, what is the way forward? With all of the conversations that we heard, what are we going to do? So I'll just wrap up in a few minutes what I think the way forward is based on the conversation we had. So we talked a lot about politics. We looked at education sector. We looked at the economics of things. I like when Honorable Commissioner started to say that, you know, when a family is not vibrant economically, it's going to affect their cognition to even think of what to do. So economics is very critical to global peace that we're talking about. Then we looked at arts and entertainment, media, and it was instructive to hear ID say that demand is what drives supply. And of course, the place of our religious homes is also something we looked at. And in all of this, we bring it back to family. And when we're talking, listening to most of the panelists, it just reminded me of what the philosopher Rumi said. Rumi is known to have said that sometimes we're looking in the branches for what is at the roots. So it's not just saying, oh, what would government do? What would I think something that really taught me today is the fact that we all need to get into politics. We need to get into the business of politicking. It's not enough to have all of these ideas and thoughts. By the time the Honorable Commissioner read out the statistics of the people who are registered and the miniature fraction of only about 500 people who actually participated in deciding our leaders, that just tells us that come the next 2023, we cannot just sit and wait for another conference. Go get your voter's card, get registered, be a party card carrying member of a political party, and get involved in what is happening, because that is how we can bring this change to be. So two things I'm looking at. How do we implement all we have learned today individually? And how do we implement it as a network? So first of all, individually, as we've heard all that has been shared today, and how we started this conversation looking first inward into your homes to know the level of peace and harmony there. What are you going to do on your own? Ganiya said something that really touched me. She said, all that the prophet asked for them to do is not to be done outside of knowledge. And that is so spot on, because even as people from the Christian faith also has it, that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So you want to ask yourself, just like Venerable Abelusi said to us, at times where he saw there was a gap he could not help any of his children with, he went on and sought external help. So where is the knowledge gap for you as an individual in raising children who are responsible, resourceful, and resilient? What do you need to know that you do not know yet that you need to learn? Which is why the Family Systems Engineering Certification Program is just that resource that you might need to bridge the gap of knowledge that can help you to position yourself as a person who can raise children that are holistic and that will promote peace. All right, so our next stream of the Family Systems Engineering Certification Program will be starting in June. I guess my team members will be dropping the link there. And so for just today, because of how the message and the intention we have to not just talk, but to put our money where our mouth is, we have a special discount for today only. The cost goes for 400,000 and is a 3-month virtual course. So you have the modules that you can watch, and then we'll sit together and talk about them for 3 months. And it's currently being sold at 400,000. But for everyone who is here in this conference, who is interested to learn the approach that can help you, irrespective of how you or the people you work with are engineered, to re-engineer them, to learn how to be whole people themselves, and then to raise whole human beings who eventually will get into government, who will get into education, who will get into politics, who will get into art and entertainment, who will get into media. So for just today, we have a discount of 50,000 naira. You can sign up to take the course today at 350,000. And yet again, from the magnanimity of our hearts, we're not expecting that you make the full payment today. With the link that will be shared, you can make a commitment of 100,000 naira today to lock your spot for the discounted 350,000. So if you've learned something today, and you're saying that my life, my family cannot continue to be where it is because I have seen that there is a lot more we need to be. We need to know how to create all of those systems that PF said that helps families to work well. Then maybe this might be your chance to become the next family systems engineering practitioner who will go out there to raise people who will first be at peace in themselves, with their family members, and of course to increase our national and global peace. So on that note, I want to say thank you. I do not expect that this should be another talk conference, but I'm hoping that with all of the points we've gathered, we can go back home, start to implement them one step at a time. And please, if we need help, the Institute has trained over 800 practitioners who are working as associates and both as certified practitioners who can help you, to bring about the change you want. So please, you can go to our website, you will see the list of practitioners, or you just drop your email if you want to know the nearest person. We have our practitioners all over Nigeria, all over North America, working in Canada, in America, in the UK, even in Europe. We have practitioners in Sweden, we have practitioners in Australia, and all of that. So if there is a challenge you have and you need help, get in contact with us. And if you actually want to know how to be that person who can change your life, your family, and Nigeria, going on to Africa as a whole, the Family Systems Engineering course may just be that knowledge that you need. Remember, there's nothing that we've been asked to do that is outside of knowledge. And like we say in the Christian faith, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It is our hope that our families, our nation, and indeed Africa shall not continue to wallow in ignorance, but we shall come to take these tested tools that we have shared continuously, that is helping families to rebuild themselves and to come out tops in the society. And on that note, I want to say thank you everyone for staying with us. I want to appreciate again all of our panelists. Thank you for spending time with us here today. Your wealth of knowledge that we drank from, we're hoping and promising you that we will use it to our advantage and for the betterment of our families and our societies. For our moderators, Adiola and Akinropu, thank you very much for that. And from all of us at the Institute, we want to say Happy International Day of Families. We come to the end of this year's African Family Life Delegate Conference 2022, and we wish you well, we wish your family well. Like we say in our institute and across our network, Ubuntu, I am because you are, we all are because you are. Let's go ahead and keep promoting peace and progress individually, in our families, and in our society at large. Thank you for staying with us, and have a pleasant evening.